Holidays from the San Jose Hockey Now podcast. Today we have Sharks consultant Zenon Konopka. He joins the podcast. Zenon has been helping the Sharks with faceoffs this past week. He also shares classic stories from his playing days, like spooking Dion Phaneuf and threatening Brian Boyle in the playoffs. Also, too, we're going to talk about, are the Sharks good? Are the Sharks bad? Well, actually, they're 500 after Vegas smoked them last night. We share our thoughts about Igor Chernyshov, and it's Christmas, so we talk about what we're grateful for, Sharks Christmas wishes, and unsung heroes.
Beautiful.
Beautiful. And before all that, speaking about gratitude and Christmas, just wanted to say thank you so much for Bring Hockey Back. Obviously, as all of you guys know, San Jose Hockey Now podcast and a lot of the content we put out on our Instagram is free to Sharks fans and hockey fans, and that's because of Bring Hockey Back. So if it's a little late for a last minute Christmas gift, but if you go to bringhockeyback.net, they have all sorts of great stuff. I'm really into the Cookie Monster hockey goalie blanket. Just my partner actually had a shirt for Revo that when we ever get him on, I'll give to him, but just to say he kind of looks like Cookie Monster in teal. But they have all sorts of other great swag, from sweats to gym shorts, and use our promo code San Jose Hockey Now for 15% off all things at bringhockeyback.net. Remember that supporting them helps support this show. To all my fellow beer leaguers, team jerseys, also team orders, also available. And Bring Hockey Back, if you're listening, I will take a pair of fourth line Team USA hockey socks for the holidays. If I don't get them this week, then I will just order them myself. So thanks a lot, BringHockeyBack.net.
I don't know if that's coming in the mail tomorrow, so sorry.
Yeah.
It's stuck between the seats.
We're talking about Christmas wishes.
Yeah.
It's possible. You never know. There's magic in the air.
I love those socks.
Yeah. And you know what? It used to be when you were a kid, you didn't want socks for Christmas, and now that's the only thing I want, because I never, by the end of December, I have no more socks left. Like they've worn out, and I have no socks. So always want socks.
100%. And we're fourth liners. Let's be honest.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I might be a third liner, but yeah.
Yeah. And how about you guys?
I'm just kidding. I'm third string goalie. I'm E-Bug. How about
Yeah, you're E-Bug.
I'll be the E-Bug on this podcast. Yeah. All right, y'all. We're going to go a little quick today because we got a long interview with Zenon, which I am not a part of, but I've heard is great, and I will listen to it later.
Yes.
on.
Oh, and Dan Boyle is a part of that interview, so.
Yeah. We've got like
Dan
the Avenger
is not
Squad
with us, right now, but he's going to be back next week.
Yeah, I love that we can just kind of pull in different people when we need them. This is great. We should just keep expanding the San Jose Hockey Now universe. Well, we're going to start off with a little bit of Christmas cheer and a little bit of things that we're going to reminisce about for the past 3 months or so. We're each going to mention something that we're grateful for this season so far, excluding Macklin Celebrini, because it would just be easy to say, Macklin. That's the only thing that we need to talk about, but we need to make the show a little bit more interesting. So Sheng, start us off. What are you grateful for so far this season?
Well, I'm grateful that we're just even talking about the playoffs, even if I don't believe. And if you saw, Zubair and I did a quick little Instagram story after the Calgary game. Even after that high, I was like, I don't think so. And we did see this past week that the Sharks 3 straight losses, 3 different kind of losses. Vegas yesterday, they just got destroyed. And against Seattle and Dallas, they actually played pretty well and arguably deserved to win. But hey, if a loss is a loss, and winning teams, the better teams find ways to win games, whether it be better goaltending, which they could have got against Seattle, better puck handling, which they needed against Dallas. more secondary scoring, which they've lacked beyond Macklin pretty much this past week. So different things, defense, obviously defensive issues. So a lot going on there, which kind of suggests that this team will not make the playoffs. But I am grateful that we are even talking about it right now. They are, I think, right now at the moment 2 points out of the wild card spot. And so what's it going to take for the Sharks to make the playoffs? Kind of expand on that, what we're grateful for. I guess I could save that for a wish, but I'll just talk about it now since we're talking about it. So let's just talk about it now. What you guys think that needs to happen for the Sharks to make the playoffs? But I think realistically, when I look at their lineup, their roster, you'll need Chernyshov to stick, and we'll talk about Chernyshov in a little bit, but I didn't think he was very good against Vegas, but pretty much nobody was except for maybe Macklin and the goalies or any good against Vegas yesterday. But they'll need to basically add a top 9 winger. I'll mention this right here. Obviously, Will Smith being hurt, they'll need Will Smith to get healthy fast. Will Smith went from, we'll evaluate him in a week to now he's week to week. So it doesn't mean that it's a bad injury. Obviously, he came out of his sling pretty fast, but it doesn't mean that he's going to be back immediately either. We don't really know at this point. And so the Sharks need all the help they can get. And so finding some extra scoring there, be it from Smith, whether Smith goes back with Macklin or not, and Chernyshov in the lineup, you just need more kind of top 9 forwards that you're secure with. The Sharks are still kind of lacking that overall in their lineup. I think also too, if you look at their defense, and I know everyone wants to concentrate on your Nick Lettys and whatnot, and he wasn't very good last night against Vegas, but you look at just specifically that one goal that people are concentrating on, the very first one, right? A lot goes wrong on that goal, the one that starts the game off. Ethan Cardwell gains the zone on that play, and he turns around instead of going north-south. He turns around, and I think it's Braden McNabb that meets him and takes the puck from him. And the puck though squirts to Nick Leddy. That's where Nick Leddy makes that mistake with the puck. And it's a 2-on-1. But then Sam Dickinson gets beat with the cross slot pass twice, which I don't know if I've ever seen a defenseman get beat on a 2-on-1 pass twice. I think he obviously can learn to play that better. So there's a lot went wrong in that game. I know I'm going off on a little bit of a tangent, but I want to make sure that we talk about the week in the Sharks too, though. And so anyway, so that play is on Nick Leddy, but it's not just on. And
I'm just going to speak up. I'm going to speak up for the fans here.
There. Yeah,
just chip it in. Just chip it in.
Well, that's more for Cardwell right there, right?
Yeah, right.
Or maybe it's for Leddy too.
Yeah, no, you're not
actually,
wrong.
Leddy might have been trying to do that. We're not really sure what Nick was trying to do exactly there, but
I think
we start off with what we were grateful for, and then ended on a sour note. So.
Well, we got to talk about the week. So basically though, to kind of finish the thought though, so. Looking at everything with the Sharks, like I think what they do need to make the playoffs, to kind of surprise us. Obviously, they need Macklin to stay healthy and beat what Macklin has been, which has been a superstar even this past week. They need a Skarov to pick up his play. Though I did love Ryan Warsofsky's defense of him yesterday, where Ryan Warsofsky said very clearly, hey, those goals that we pulled him in the Vegas game, and none of those goals were on him, and he's right. The team did not support him at all. Not just, again, the defense, the forwards. No F3, basically exposing the back end to multiple odd man rushes. But I look at the Sharks lineup, and what they do need to make the playoffs, I think, is I think they need Shakir McMadullin. That's the one guy I look at that has that. It's realistic that he finds another step to his game by the end of the year. I think Dickinson's too young to kind of expect Sam Dickinson to be like a legit top 4 defenseman by the end of this year. So even though he makes his mistakes, I think you just live with them because he's young. You want him to make these mistakes and learn from them and be better next year or 2 years from now. So looking at this lineup, the most realistic thing is for a guy like Mukmadulin, who has a lot of talent and has a lot of pro experience, to take that next step. So anyway, on this topic, before we get to what you're grateful for, what are you guys seeing? What's it going to take for the Sharks to make the playoffs? Besides anything besides the aforementioned?
I'm going to step in, and then Zubair, you can go. Mine won't be very long. It's either I think there's two things that either could happen. One is that Mike Grier acquires somebody on the defense, or very likely on the defense, that's going to kind of change the trajectory and stabilize the defense a little bit more.
Makes sense. Mm-hmm.
That's a possibility, and I think that's very much needed if they're realistically going to make playoffs. But like you said, maybe Mukmadulin steps in after the new year, and it's just, an actual offense, like 2-way D that can actually put up some points and drive some offense from the back end, or Mike Grier acquires it. That's one way. The other way is kind of like a Christmas miracle, which is basically what they were doing in November, which is Celebrini's 1.6 points per game and Askarov is a 950
944.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not impossible. It's just I think that's literally
that's the
I think that's legitimately how the Sharks can safely make the playoffs, right? Is because right now we're getting inconsistency again with the goaltending. Not that Askarov's been bad, but it's he's back down to earth.
Right.
And Celebrini's still great, and we're kind of going back and forth. We are on a little losing streak right now, but it's kind of win one, lose one, win one, lose one, win two, lose one kind of thing, most of the time for the past month or so. So I think that's more realistic of what the Sharks are. The wild card race is kind of interesting. There's honestly this is a good chance for the Sharks to make the playoffs just because of the way that the standings are falling.
Yeah,
the
far,
teams,
right? Yeah.
Yeah, so the teams that are ahead of them are way ahead. The teams that are really bad are really bad, and then that middle group isn't that deep.
There isn't actually a really bad team, though. I think the worst team is Chicago now, actually, because they lost Bedard.
Right?
And
Vancouver's won
they're
a bunch.
They're at 32 and 33 points. The Sharks at 37.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
they're
still in it.
The teams that are on the bottom, I don't expect them to improve enough to be better than the Sharks. They don't seem like better teams than the Sharks right now.
Well, there's one caveat there in the West, and that's Winnipeg. So Winnipeg is way out of standings right now.
That's one team that should figure it out.
That's the one team I would say
they should figure it out.
I think that, because to your point, for the Sharks making it, Keegan, you kind of have to look at the teams around us, and I agree, this is a good year for that. And if you look at the entry point into the wild card spot, it's a little easier in the West than it is in the East. You can get into the West with 2 less wins than you can in the East into the playoffs. And I think that's just the way that the differentiation of points on the East and the West are playing out, particularly against conference versus conference teams. But one of the things that I always look at that I learned in sports analytics a long time ago is goal differential is a statistic that tends to play out with a larger sample size. So if you look at towards the end of the season, it's usually a really good predictive indicator of what teams are going to make it. And Winnipeg is the sleeper there. They're only a -4.
Yeah.
And that's better than the Kings, or they're actually better than the Kings in terms of goal differential. So I think as the course plays out, we know
are in a wild card spot,
and they are in a wild card spot, and then Utah's a +4. So so I think over time I will see them climbing the ranks, and not again. That's not. It's a gross reduction of actually how sports analytics work, but I think the team's also legitimately good. We know how good Winnipeg is. And I think they're going to start to figure it out. So I think it will get a little bit more competitive with them
for a month as well.
Yeah. But everything else, I'm totally in agreement with you. There's one caveat there.
Yes, absolutely. But I just don't see Vancouver, Chicago, Calgary, St. Louis. These teams are in
Nashville.
the midst of either a retool or going into rebuild and Nashville's kind of a wild card, literally. They could be good, they could be bad, but they've just been it's bad the past couple of seasons. So who knows? They might go on a run and then they make the playoffs too. So there are a few
St. Louis
teams.
went on a run last year, and St. Louis, I think, thought that they were going to make the playoffs this year. So
yeah,
so
there's
if
a few
they don't
teams that are
break
around.
apart a team,
It's just I think the Sharks have the opportunity. It's not and they put themselves in this opportunity. Like you said, we're grateful. We're super grateful that they've done that. That this is a good. They could do it, and Utah's been up and down. LA is just 2 points ahead of them too. So I think there's a chance here, and then there's just so many good teams in the Central that like they're clearing house, or like they're basically forcing the other teams below them to not gain as many points because they're winning every fucking night, So just the way that the point standings are, I think the points needed is going to be a lot lower than other years.
I agree,
but that's just my like outside opinion on it. But yeah, one of those two things: either they get a new defenseman, or a miracle.
Yeah. I mean, you look at the goal differential though. That doesn't look good for the Sharks because they're on the lower side of especially after last night. On Keegan's point, in terms of making a trade, obviously it doesn't make sense for the Sharks really to like add like some veteran and give up a draft pick. They're not at that point yet. But maybe this is a trade for, like, Keegan and I talked about how the Sharks added a defenseman or added number one defenseman. He's not a number one defenseman, but, like, a younger guy that kind of fits the Sharks timeline and the team wants to trade. Like, let's say the Sabres do part with Bo Byram, though the Sabres are on a run right now, so, But that's an example of the bracket or quadrant of defensemen that kind of makes sense. But anyway, go ahead, Zubair. What are you grateful about?
Or are we talking about what the Sharks need to do to make playoffs?
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
I think the number one thing would be, not so much reliance on Macklin and Askarov. I think and what we really need for that, first of all, is secondary scoring. And to that, I think we probably need a legitimate 2C. And I think Wenberg is doing great in his placement, but I do think he's a little out of place sometimes as the second center. And in terms of just goal differential, again, I think you want to see more scoring touch from him. I think he's great defensively. He does a lot of things off the puck that don't give him necessarily points, but I think the Sharks need a legitimate 2C. Is what I'm trying to say. I think
I don't know how realistic that is. So,
it's not realistic.
Maybe.
I'm just saying I think they would need to make playoffs. I don't think you're going to make. Okay. And again, I don't think they're going to make playoffs with this lineup. I think they do need a legitimate 2C to make playoffs. And I think that's a position that is often, I think, overlooked with this squad because of what we have in the pipeline and Misa and stuff like that. But I think you really see that missing this season. The other thing is just consistency from the defensive core. And to your point, I think we need an upgrade from our defense, and I think that just could be even like team oriented. Like all the defense just needs to play a little better. And I think that's structurally really like they need to commit to the structure that the coach is preaching and play it and execute it well. And we see that fall apart like last night. So I would think those are the two things. And then to Keegan's point, I agree. Like, things kind of have to line up perfectly in the West for us to sneak in if that was going to happen. Yep. But, I also want to just point out on this topic, Randy's point where he said, not to, Randy last week when he was on the pod had that great prediction for the Sharks making playoffs based on what he sees and feels. And he did say they're going to go through some losing slumps again. And that's where we are now.
I think this one is a little bit. This one gets my attention though because I got to interrupt here just because like after that Pittsburgh game, that comeback, like to me, like, and I may be wrong, and the Sharks come out of the break gangbusters, but that momentum moment, that Pittsburgh comeback, I feel like you got to go on a little bit of a run there. And doesn't mean you have to win all the next 4 games, but like you got to do better than 1-3 and 0, and also one of the games you get destroyed in too. So that's my like a playoff team figures it out better than that. I guess I would say in this little stretch.
That would be my last thing that they have to do to win is you can't give up these like complete meltdown goals that has lost us games. Nedeljkovic's people wanted to put that on Wenberg and Boilers and I talked about this and when he probably should have had his stick down. He had made that pass earlier in the game. To another Sharks forward. I think it was Ty Dellandrea, who was looping down the middle. But if you see how close the player who eventually got the puck on the opposing team was to Wenberg, he could have easily just, jumped on him on that pass and poke checked it in because it was a completely empty net and you're passing it up the middle. And those kind of goals deflate the team. And, we started the season off with some of those lapses and you just got to clean that up. Like when you're a team like the Sharks and every game that you're winning is like a lot of them are really close games. Those goals really matter. And those are things that can be easily cleaned up. And I really think those things got to get cleaned up. Maybe that's on my Christmas wish. I don't know. But I think that's also something that it just deflates the team, and you got to get rid of those. So that's my last point to that.
No, I'm with you. I did want to add with the secondary scoring. One guy I forgot about too that I think is realistic too is I love William Macklin to start the season. He went into a lull. I think the last week or so, except for the Vegas game when pretty much everybody was bad, I think he actually, he had 14 shots against Seattle and Dallas. I liked him in those 2 games. And so I think it's realistic to hope, just like with Mukumudulin's talent and experience level, that William Eklund finds that extra level of maybe consistency in the second half. So then he and Will Smith and Colin Graf and Chernyshov, they start to add and Wenberg into Foley and maybe even Jeff Skinner because he has a long scoring track record, that then they start to give the Sharks that legit level of secondary scoring that it seems like they have the potential for. So.
Yeah, I agree.
All right.
I completely agree.
Zubair, what are you grateful for?
Okay, so we can't say what someone else has said. So obviously the Sharks being a 500 team this part of the season and even having the conversation about playoffs, I think that's probably our shared answer. And we also put the caveat that you can't say Macklin Celebrinis. Mm-hmm. So progression in him. So we'll leave that out, and I'll leave the fact that it's that. I would say, one thing that I'm really grateful for is just the development of all the youngsters. Chernyshov, Dickinson, these guys getting a chance and growing, and this even goes to the CUDA, right? Like Musty, Haltunen, Caglioni, Lund. It looks like the Sharks
Colin
are
Graf
ahead.
Too. That's a big one too.
100%. Thanks for mentioning that. That's what I'm grateful for. I'm really grateful that we're seeing great progression from the youngsters, and the floor has been risen. Askarov, how do we forget Askarov? Come on, right? So there's so much there in the core of the team that is that's why we're having the conversation, and it's so awesome to see. This is what we've been waiting for. We went through hell for, and we're here and we're watching this story play out. And I'm just grateful for the development of all the young Sharks. And Klingberg, let's throw him in there. Even the veterans that are developing. But
I like
development.
The fact that it's the core makes it feel very very special, because these are the guys that you're going to watch for a long time, hopefully. Make it better and better, and it's kind of what you dream of when you start this rebuild, is to have these pieces that you draft and develop, and it's happening. So I'm very excited about that.
Oh, speaking of Colin Graf, actually, Keegan, I've been meaning to tell you this, that Colin Graf is aware of your "look at this, it's Colin Graf" meme.
I love it.
Really?
He asked, he knew?
I don't remember. He told me who told him, so it was somebody maybe with the Barracuda or something. I got to remember, or I got to ask him again to verify who told him. But he says that, someone showed him, though. So.
Yeah.
I think it was a coach that might have shown him, actually.
It will live on in infamy. It's basically, and also he's just been so good, that Graf. My God, he's been so good. It's a testament to just his versatility as a player. He looks great on the third line. He looks great on the PK. He can fill in with guys like Chernyshov and Celebrini on the top line sometimes. It's not like there's still lots to develop for him, but he's just such a Swiss Army knife. And
it's been very impressive. Yeah.
Those guys are like the guys that you remember on Stanley Cup winning teams is that guy was everywhere. He could play and just scores timely goals, and that's what I'm excited about with Graf.
Yeah,
for sure.
The potential is there for that for sure. And I wrote about it after the Seattle game and I think we've seen it. He is now part of, when you talk about the Sharks, rebuild, who's leading it, Celebrini and Smith and Eklund and Graf. That's not
Askarov.
Well, no, obviously Askarov and Dickinson too, but I'm just talking about when you say a sentence like that, Graf belongs in that sentence now. He's not a hope guy in a sentence like that. Musty is a hope guy, right? Musty's very talented, but we don't know if Musty is legitimately there. Even Chernishov's been 4 games, so we don't know that yet. But when you talk about, again, when I say Macklin Celebrini and company leading the Sharks rebuild, that company very much, like I said, he's on the forefront of it. So that's super impressive from where he was last year, and obviously from when he signed. And like I said, I in terms of a testament to the Barracuda development too, that's because when you try to give the Barracuda people or the Sharks development credit for Askarov or for even a Chernyshov, right? Someone's going to say, "Oh, those guys were so good. They didn't, like the Barracuda didn't do anything for that." Like that's, people who are trying to cut down John McCarthy or cut down Mike Ricci, right? But if you look at a guy like Graf was not, Graf was undrafted, a signed free agent who clearly changed his game from college to the professional level to become a legitimate NHL player. And obviously a lot of that is Graf, but a lot of it is also the people on the Sharks and the Barracuda recognizing that he had other skills than being like Kevin LeBanc and being a playmaker. No, he actually had the frame to be a penalty killer. That's something I talked about with a scout recently about Graf specifically, that is the job of a scout, to look at a player and not look at him exactly as he is, but look at what he can become with his skills level. And obviously, you look at Graf and you're like, okay, the guy's not going to be a point per game player in the NHL like he was in NCAA. But what about his determination, his will, his physical package? Even though he does have a hitch in his skating, where can this go if it all kind of lands? And that's what the Sharks kind of identified with him. I know a lot of teams wanted Graf out of college, but I don't know if all those teams would have identified him as this guy can be a future penalty killer and be your top penalty killer, which he is for the Sharks right now. So anyway, I just wanted to mention that since we're talking about Graf. So I'm going to add, I'm also grateful for Graf, but
Colin Graf. Look at this Colin Graf. I have one. My grateful thing.
Yes.
And this one's going to be surprising to people. Maybe. I'm grateful for our fourth line. And that's and here's why. So our fourth line generally consists of Barclay Goodrow, Ryan Reeves, and then a center. Ostapchuk or Gaudette or maybe Dellandrea occasionally, but that's typically where it's set at is Goodrow and Reeves. And I thought at the beginning of the season that Reeves would be in and out of the lineup mostly for physical games. But Reeves is playing pretty well in most games, even though he plays under 10 minutes a night generally. When he does play, he hits, he skates, he is working his ass off. Like he's 38 years old or whatever, so it's not like he's got the stamina to last more than 30 seconds. But like, there's something about that like guy that goes out there and lays the big hit that we haven't had in fucking forever. And Reeves is that guy. Like right now, he will go out there, lay a hit, and I love it. And then Barclay Goodrow, I'm grateful for Barclay Goodrow because last year I still think he was not a good player, and I said that very aggressively in the summer, and wrongly that he was the worst player in the NHL. I think could have phrased that better, and I think that this year he's proving that he is a useful NHLer, and he's not like just a throw-in nobody right now. He's a useful fourth line forward who can penalty kill and gives you everything he needs every night. I think last year, even he would say that he had a bad year, and he just looked lost on most nights. Watching him, I'd be like, what are we doing with Goodrow? Because he was playing too high in the lineup. Now he's in that role, and they are not like trying to move him up in that lineup at all. They're like keeping him there because he plays well in that role. So I'm grateful for them for A, proving me wrong, and then B, just solidifying a line that you can put out there for certain situations, and not having to just continually pretend like they need to play up in the lineup because there's nobody else better in our second and third line. Like this is our fourth line, and it's been consistent and really good this year. So
yeah, I want to add to that point that No, excuse me. That I think that long run. I mean, talking about maybe not this year, but when this team gets to the playoffs regularly, that line does need a little more offense. Whether that comes from Ostapchuk or Gaudreau or somebody, right?
Somebody.
And so that is an issue, and a lot of people are going to come at look at their charts, their Corsi. But one interesting thing about that line that I was looking at, and I was maybe going to save it for an article, but I'll mention it here. Is this is a couple games ago, so it could have changed. But if you look at they in terms of like shot share, they don't do well there. But specifically, if you look at like high danger chances, actually, I think Reeves is the best forward on the Sharks. He might be the best like regular forward on the Sharks in terms of the least amount of high danger chances given. And I think that's really interesting because I think that's the concept of that line that like, okay, like they may not create a lot of offense, but they're going to play a certain way that Warsofsky likes in terms of simplicity. And importantly, too, that they do a good job of not allowing the best chances. You know, they keep stuff to the perimeter, basically.
Yeah.
They play within themselves. They know maybe they're not going to, they're not going to be pushing offense like Macklin Celebrini, but they also know that, okay, what can we do? We can at least protect the home plate well. And they have done that. If you think about it, like how many think about just that fourth line in your head this year and just have they been on the wrong end of a ton of grade A chances? I don't think they have been. You can argue that they need to push more grade A chances on their team, and I agree with that. But again, look at that. Look at that part of the analytics. They actually grade quite well. Gaudreau and Reeves. Last year, Gaudreau did not grade well in that. And I know that was the idea for him to be out there, that he would grade well in that. He did not. But this year so far, both of them much better. And like I said, I believe they're leading the Sharks forwards in that department. So, which is better than better.
That's all you really need from a defensive forward like that is them to really limit high danger chances. Last year it did not go that way for Gaudreau. No. And part of it was just that he was up and down in where he was slotted, and
the rest of the team wasn't good too. A lot of circumstances,
But and I think he just kind of had lost a little bit of like my biggest memory is I watched Barclay Goodrow score a goal against Boston last year, and I only go to like one or two Sharks games a year because they can play in Boston or they play in New York or whatever. And Barclay Goodrow scored a goal against Boston, and then I think they were only down by like 2. He scores that goal. He is deadpan sad going back to the ice after scoring, and I'm like, what the fuck? Like, yes, the Sharks had I think they were on like an 11-game losing streak or whatever the hell last year, but he just was so sad, and like I don't know. I from then on last year I just like watched him, and I did not see a very engaged player. This year he seems like he's got some new life. He seems like he wants to be there and wants to make this team grow, and that's awesome. I'm happy for Barclay.
Well, yeah, we don't want to get into that I mean, I thought he was that this year. We talked about all the fights he got in last year, but that's another discussion, though. So, all right, so let's talk now. Or do you have a point?
One more thing on the fourth line is I want to throw Chucky into my gratitude list of young core as well. I think Ostapchuk has been. Frankly, what I expected from him this season. I actually talked to Drew Remenda about it in training camp when we were at one of the training camp sessions, and we were in the media room just talking about Zach, and I thought he was going to crack this lineup this year, and Drew and I had a good discussion about it, and Drew Remenda, that is, and yeah, I'm very happy with what he's doing, and like you said, I think the offense will come over time. And the other thing, with the discussion with Konopka, with Z, he gives us a story that you guys will hear later in the podcast. But, to Keegan's point on the fourth line, and Sheng, your point too, is I just see the Sharks not being bullied as much as they were last year. There's and I think that's something that is a realistic part of hockey. And Z talks a little bit about that and shares a story. And I know, people have said this, the team just plays a little more confident with him on the ice, and all the intangibles that Revo brings also, the Shark's tooth and everything else too. It's been an awesome treat for this year too. So throw him in the gratitude list too. It's Christmas.
Sure.
And people were upset about that trade too. But I think if we're being realistic, Reeves has added way more to this team, even if he only has like 2 goals or whatever, than Thrun would be adding to this team right now.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I don't know if Henry's still up with the Leafs or not. So yeah, but. I'm curious.
You mean the tanking Leafs? Yeah.
Well,
the
it
Sharks
was
they're
funny.
finally
He
better
played
than
his
the Sharks.
first game of the year last year. He played his first game in NHL this year against the Sharks. Henry, when the Sharks were just
So
in
I'm
Toronto.
going to say this now because I don't know if you guys know this about me, but a lot of my hockey friends know this about me. After the Sharks winning, which is my favorite thing in hockey, my second favorite thing in hockey is watching the Leafs lose. So, just putting this out there.
We're gonna piss off a lot of Leafs fans. I do also enjoy watching the Leafs lose. It's very fun. Like I don't know.
Am I
It's the
back?
Boston. It's
okay,
me
yeah,
being
I
in
dropped
Boston.
out there. Am I back?
Oh, you're
Am I
back. You're back.
Okay.
Sheng.
Just so everybody
said,
knows, I'm using hotel internet, so I may drop in and out. So, but anyway, so
What I was saying was because I know I have some I have a lot of friends that are Leafs fans, and some of them actually listen to this pod too, so they're going to love this. They know this about me. But Shane, what I was saying was my second favorite thing in hockey after the Sharks winning is watching the Leafs lose. I enjoy it. I look forward to it. I like it. Just brings so much joy. Like maybe it's because like they're cursed more. I don't know.
Yeah, it's just fun.
They
fun.
think they're the hockey capital of the world, so
Yeah.
Nice
It's
to
so
see him
good.
get
Everything has to. How will this affect the Leafs? Like,
Exactly.
No matter what. Like it's
Yes.
they're in on Quinn Hughes. It's like no. It's like every single big player they have to be in on, and like what was the package that the Leafs could have offered? And it's like, come on, man. That's not how the world works. They don't just like run every trade through the general manager of the Leafs first and then see if they. It's like I don't know.
Exactly.
All right. What are we're going to move on from what we're grateful for to what are our wishes for the second half of the season. This is our Christmas wish list. These are the things, and we're going to make the caveat that you can't say that we just make the playoffs because that's
yeah.
boring. What is our wish list for the second half of the season? Sheng, do you got anything?
Sure. I'll start off, and I did mention it in the not. It was not a gratitude part of it, but you want to see, I think, more consistency from Willie Macklin. I love the high end I see from him. I thought that, and Zubair, we argued about this in the first month, right? I think the first couple of weeks, maybe month of the season, I thought that William was clearly the Sharks' second best player. And then he got hurt. I'm not saying it's because of injury, but there was a drop off after that a little bit, and he came back, and whatever you want to count it for. But I think the potential is there for him to be the Sharks' second best forward this season. And so I wanted him to find that consistency on a night-to-night basis, that difference-making consistency. And also want to add that with Mukhamadullin, too, where Mukhamadullin hasn't done it as much as Eklund has, so I'm not as sure of Mukhamadullin. But we do see the flashes of talent for sure, though. And so with a guy like Mukhamadullin, the Sharks just need more like Hall and Graf, they need more people to kind of join the train, right? And so who's leading the train? Macklin's leading the train. Colin Graf is on it. Eklund is on it. Will Smith. You need Shakir Mukhamadullin to jump on that train to take the Sharks to a better place. So that's definitely a wish that I hope to see in the second half of the season. Also, too, just better health. We talked about Will Smith's health, and just a quick
You only
aside
get one
about.
wish.
Well, I gotta mention, give a little injury update on Liljegren. Liljegren got hurt at a practice, I think, or morning skate. I think it was a morning skate actually. And Sharks had bad luck with that recently. But anyway, Liljegren out until he missed the Vegas game, so we'll see if he's ready to go for the next game against Vancouver. Desharnais's doing well. Sharks definitely could use Desharnais back in the lineup. I think as we've seen the last month or so, or last couple weeks or so, and the Sharks are hopeful that he can practice with them out after Christmas, so maybe we'll see him in Vancouver. And Kurashev looks like he's going to be a little while. So he's going to be out week to week, and we'll see. Sounds like he'll be ready for the Olympics at least, though. So that's good for him. I know that's going to be a big deal for him. But in general, I'll just say, those two players I mentioned in terms of wishes, and also just better general injury health for the Sharks.
Nice, I love it. Keegan, you want to go next?
Sure. I guess one is probably is gonna happen, but I really want Celebrini to make the Olympic roster. I think that would be a sweet not gesture by Team Canada, but a smart move by Team Canada, and just awesome for like the future of San Jose in general that we have a Olympian at 19 on the roster.
A Canadian Olympian.
A Canadian Olympian.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
It just means like he's just another step, another little thing to put on Celebrini's cap as he's going to go forward with a bajillion awards in his career. So that'll be my one wish that I think that will happen. Other than that, I want to see. This is going to kind of be a cop out. I kind of want to see Chernyshov as a top 6 forward that sticks, right? Like as the guy that sticks in our lineup, that gives the Sharks something that they're missing, right? Eklund, Smith, Celebrini, don't really have that, or even Graf don't really have the frame, the size to bully opponents on the boards and stuff like that. I mean, Celebrini does, so that's different. But Chernyshov is just this not perfect, but combination of power, skill, playmaking that I really, really want to see him stick with the lineup and just never look back, right? Like you get in the lineup, he plays first, second line minutes. He looks great every night, or at least passable every night. It just gets better throughout the year, and we don't have to play the game of okay, well he's done 3 games where he has to put up a point. Let's send him down to the AHL. I want him. That's my wish, right? I want him to just play consistent enough that they keep him in the lineup, and then he's a core piece going forward. That's my wish. I think this was kind of similar to last year's wish, which was I wished for Mukabadula to be a core piece moving forward, and so kind of similar thing is that I want Chernyshov to really stick into the lineup, which we'll talk a little bit about his play here. I think it's been very good. I think the general consensus has been positive for Chernyshov. Yesterday's game was a little bit of an anomaly for everybody. He looked kind of invisible most of the time, but the thing that I really enjoy is just his directness towards the net. His rush with the puck towards the net is difficult to stop, and it's an immediate read of I need to put this puck towards the net, and I really like his aggressiveness with the play. It's the second time that he's been plugged in with a super great center. Like he plugged in with Misa and juniors, and they just clicked immediately, and he was connecting the play with Misa and never looked back, and just got better and better and better throughout that whole year. And as soon as he was with Celebrini, it was like, oh, this guy can play with me, and it was beautiful. And I think that line, it doesn't have to be Graf there. I just think that those two together, kind of like with Smith as well, just have so much that they can grow with. That I really hope that he sticks in the second half of the year. I think the conditioning aspect of his game is still needs some work, but he's 20, or is he even 20? 19, 20?
He's 20. He's going to turn... Yeah, he's actually not going to turn 21 till... He just turned 20. I think his birthday is November 2005. I just looked that up, so...
Actually, no, fun fact. I learned this the other day. He was born on the day that Joe Thornton was traded to the San Jose Sharks.
Oh,
the exact day, which is crazy.
That's wild.
Chernyshov. Anyway, so that's very cool. I think that his conditioning needs to improve just a little bit, and that'll come with time of being a pro and playing in and out of these games, and just more time at the gym and that kind of thing. I think he gets a little bit winded towards the end of his shifts, a little bit quicker than guys that are more seasoned than him, and that can lead to some defensive problems, but other than that, his speed's been awesome. I'm very excited about him. Go ahead, Z.
To your point, the first game, Sheng and I were at the game together, his debut, and he was... I do appreciate that, though. He would get winded quick, and I'm making an assumption here that it was because he was winded. Maybe he was just playing safe, but he was on and off the ice so quick. And then Graf and Macklin would be out there for another 20 seconds after, and they'd be out there with the next line's winger because... he was just on the boards, off the boards. And I also was assuming, I was like, he just looks tired, but at least he's playing it safe. He's not, a lot of players would be inclined to stay out there with his line mates until they change, exhausted, but he's like, I'll be a liability if I do that. Let me hop off. And he was also moving at full tilt, which is awesome to see.
Yeah.
And, he's moving at full tilt, and I really liked his game. One thing that I noticed is Macklin's becoming a little bit more vocal with him in position. You can kind of see it in game time. There in the first game, they were in the offensive zone, and Macklin was playing the high forward position because the opposing team had possession, and there was a giant gap. And Macklin sticks out his stick and just yells at Chernishov's like, "Close that gap! Like, what are you doing? Like, hurry up and get over there! Like, you can't give people time in the NHL. Like, you need to attack now. I'm already backed up." And then Igor just books it, and then they spurt out the puck, and there's a couple of times, even yesterday at the end of the game, I think it was like the last shift of the Vegas game, Chernyshov breaks in over the blue line and just shoots it on net, and Macklin looks, like frustrated, like make a play. There's 6 seconds left, like don't just throw it into the chest. We have nothing to lose. Let's try to get one more. And so I think that Macklin's communication, he seems very confident in himself and what should be done, and just knowing the game as well as he does, rightfully so. I think that's going to help Igor's development if he continues, to your point, to play on that top line, which I think he deserves. I think we can see, again, the Macklin effect of having a really good leader on your team that is going to accelerate people's development. And Igor seems to be, responding well to it, and I obviously can. And also, when you lead by example, that's going to be helpful. But I do see Macklin, telling him what he wants from him frequently, which is great to see.
Yeah. Actually, to that point, I saw that. I think it was the Dallas game actually, and I don't think it's something that was caught on camera, but there was a shift where Chernyshov was what gave it to Celebrini, and Celebrini entered into the zone and dropped it off to the place that Chernyshov was supposed to be on the wing, but Chernyshov had changed, and Cardwell had jumped on, but Cardwell was not Cardwell's fault. Cardwell was a little behind because he was changing, and so Dallas got the puck back, and that happens. But then on the bench, though, I see Celebrini lean over Graf because line mates sit together on the bench, and he just just taps him on the shoulder, and it seems like, I don't know, I'm not on the bench, but it seems like he probably was saying like, don't get off there. You don't need to. Like, we were on the attack there. So you respect Chernyshov for playing it safe, and maybe to Keegan's point, maybe the wind isn't there ideally for 45, 50-second shifts like Macklin. Macklin had a couple of 2-minute shifts yesterday.
Exactly.
I think he just decided, and I wrote about this. I got to check, but I'm pretty sure it's just the Sharks saying at this point, look, you're our best player. You decide. You can pretty much decide when to go on and off, when you got to get off, or when it's time to push offense. And the Sharks are obviously behind all games, against Vegas. So anyway, I saw that with Chernyshov. I would mention with Chernyshov, though, in terms of having him with Smith, I don't know how tied Chernyshov is to the right wing, but that's what he's been playing with the Sharks. And Smith obviously is a right winger, and Smith has been pretty much almost, not to say that either guy can't go to the left, but for Smith, the guy who's still transitioning to wing after being center his whole life, he's played pretty much the right wing the whole time with the Sharks when he's been on the wing. So I'm not sure how that's going to work with both of them. So we'll see.
Left wing at least partially in juniors too, if I remember right. He did.
Chernyshov. Okay, so maybe that'll be fine. And Chernyshov obviously has been a wing pretty much his whole life, I guess. So it'll be easier for Chernyshov to make that transition if he does have to go to the left. I will say though that in terms of, and people wonder, because I put a story out about from scouts and just their thoughts on Chernyshov, and maybe they were disappointed that they weren't talking about Chernyshov being a first line scorer or whatnot, right? One scout was just like, I still see middle, I'm not sure about him being a second line. I'm thinking more middle six, or I feel safer about that. And granted, scouts, their job is to some degree to be safe, right? To not necessarily put their neck out on the line and say, hey, this guy's going to dominate the league for the next decade, right? But I did think, though, because I talked with the same scout again, I just texted with him and I wondered, okay, why are you saying this about Chernyshov? Why do you think that maybe you're not seeing quite second line? Which I think most people would say that, I don't know if anyone necessarily sees him as first line, in terms of the scouting community. I know that you want to say that because, he's 20 years old, he's had a good stretch of games here, but I'm not sure if people in that community are convinced of that he's quite that good. But what this scout mentioned about Chernyshov in terms of what he needs to kind of work on is that, definitely his speed. There's top six potential there, right? And I wonder, actually, I was going to ask you, Keegan, about his speed, and you mentioned his conditioning. That could be one thing about it, about why maybe in some places in the Barracuda he didn't look so fast. But I also wonder too if maybe the NHL he might be one of those players that does better in the structure of the NHL, and maybe that's why he looks so fast here. That he can pick and choose when to go, and it's more applicable to the organized NHL game than in the AHL. I'm not really sure because that has been.
I thought to me he's always looked fast. Was there
there's been some discussion points about that, about how fast he is. I've seen him in the AHL.
Quickness
and I don't
or
think
top speed? What are we talking about here? Quickness or top speed?
I think is
we're talking about quickness.
Top speed's always good. First two steps, first three steps. Because he's also got good edge work. I think there'll be power developed, but even his first couple of steps, especially while in transition, to me, I've seen good stuff from the first training camp to the OHL stuff to Barracuda stuff, but I don't know.
Yeah, there's been times. I think the times that I've seen him look slow are either towards the end of a shift, especially now in the NHL.
Okay.
Towards the end of the shift, he looks behind, or when he doesn't, he's often faster with the puck than he is without the puck. When he's trying to cover space defensively, I feel like he's a little behind the play. I feel like his feet look a little bit heavy when he's trying to defend the cycle more than anything else. It feels like he's behind trying to get under guys' sticks. But it's not like it's I think it's more of honestly just the length of his shifts. When he's towards the back end of a shift, he feels slower, and I think he loves to rush and he loves to spend that gas, and then I think
to your point,
to slow down.
From the player perspective, what often happens there is, and it's, let's say you don't have the stamina like Celebrini's motor's going right all the time. I think what happens there sometimes is you're conserving for the right opportunity or energy for when you have the puck. And so you're not going to jump, and that might be exactly to your point. But again, I don't think it's a lack of ability of speed is what I'm saying.
I don't think
he has the ability to be fast and quick. Even in his first three strides, I've always seen as good, especially for his size and weight. I think he's always, that's been an attribute that I've always noticed as a quality of his. But to your point, I think I just maybe misunderstood the rationale as to when that happens, but. And I think to your point, go ahead.
I was just saying, I think it stood out more in NHL. I think that's what I was trying to get. I watched him with the Barracuda and in development camp, and granted that was right before his surgery, but it stood out more in the NHL than it did in those other places.
And I knew he was going to come out flying too. When those first couple of rushes, you can tell he's excited. He looks like a guy who has the confidence to carry at that speed, and that's just super exciting for somebody that's 6'3", right? Yeah. Also, I'd like to say that he's got 3 points in 4 games, but I swear he should have 4 because there was the assist taken away off the Graf goal.
Oh yeah, I wonder if it must have touched a Seattle player on the way. Maybe that's what they rolled.
Basically, so Chernyshov, beautiful play, intercepts that pass, just is high up in the slot, sneaks it, and then passes it over to Graf, who shoots, almost goes in, bounces off the post, hits the Seattle goalie in the butt, and then goes back in the net. But he kind of swings his arm and touches it a little bit, and then it goes in the net. But I'm like, that should still count as Chernishov's assist. This is bullshit. It's just an unassisted goal to Graf. Anyway, he should be point a game. That's my point.
I did want to finish that thought from the scout, though. And I think the main thing the scout was saying that he just isn't sure that Chernyshov has quite enough finish to be a second liner. Because we talk about, second line winger, right? First line, very general. These are very general numbers, right?
Sure.
But when you talk about first line winger, I think you're kind of thinking for a goal scoring, we're not talking about the playmaking part of it, but let's say 30-35, right? Talking about second line, we're talking like 25-ish, right? And then we're talking third liner, maybe like 15 goals, 15, 20, something like that. And so I think that's where the scout's coming from, where he's not maybe sure that Chernyshov's finish is going to amount to like in that like clear-cut second line 25-ish goal tear on a regular basis too, right? Some guys are kind of regular 15-goal guys, and then they explode for 1 year. We're not talking about that. We're talking about like consistent every night. This guy's gonna pop in, or every season he's gonna pop in a good 25 goals for you. And I think that's his question. So anyway,
he's always been more of a close scorer or like a mid to close range shooter rather than like he's not a long distance guy most of the time. A lot of his goals come off of the rush or from
cutting to the inside
around the net front.
Yeah.
Okay. So maybe that's why. Maybe his shot needs to be a little more dangerous or whatever, right?
It looks good though. His placement's good.
Yeah.
Well, two things that I think are going to happen with the. Two things I think are going to happen with the Sharks that I think. I mean, I understand what the scout's saying, but when you get a Macklin Celebrini like you do with Crosby or even Joe Thornton, you don't have to put legitimate first line wingers on their line to be productive. I think that's the dynamic of what.
Yeah, but I would counter that though. That Chernyshov's not going to get to play with necessarily be paired with Celebrini for the rest of his life, though.
I don't think so either. But what I'm saying is,
but
I think that he could still.
You're assessing players apart from the. You're assessing players.
Yeah.
If you're a scout, though, you're assessing players apart from. He's going to get to play with Macklin or Joe Thornton or Crosby. So that's why it's still plausible what the scout is saying. He's not just dissing the Sharks or dissing Chernyshov. He's just saying, well, I'm not sure how much finish the kid has. I mean, that's not wild.
So to finish my point, I think that I think that my opinion of it is that he will be a top six winger over the course of his career. And one of the reasons I believe that is because he not only does he have the size and he gets to the inside, which I think will be valuable and having a way to score, not just on the rush. I think he's good on the rush, but I also think he has good hockey offensive IQ. We saw that with his connection with Misa. We saw that in the play between him, Graf, and Celebrini. And so I think that he finds other ways to not just score, but I think he can rely on his playmaking ability. I think he has enough range where a shot is you can develop over time, sometimes more easier than skating. And I think that finish will come as he learns the game. And I think he'll also get more offensive opportunities if he commits to closing gaps and things like that, works on his stamina. So I just want to say my opinion is that I see him as a top six winger. I always have. And if anything, I see it more and more. And particularly with, again, isolated from that, but if he's playing with Celebrini or Misa, I think that he needs players with that IQ because he does play a good passing game as well, short passing game, which is a really good advantage. And I think he has the size to play on the inside and be in that position. If he learns how to tip pucks and screen, which they'll develop with him, I'm sure, over time, and a forecheck, I definitely see him as a top six winger. How many guys with that skill set do you see at that size? And that can skate and stick handle.
I think he'll be a second liner myself. And that's what I've heard from most people. But I just wanted to relay because people in my comments were wondering why did the scout say middle six? And someone asked me, did you ask the scout why he said middle six? And I was like, well, I'm good with this scout, so I asked, and he answered.
And that's a good. That's a good.
That's
thing.
all.
Good play.
It's I think he has a lot of creative playmaking, like you said, and a lot of short passes that are super, super smart and good. And his drive to the net is great. His physicality can be good off the wall. But you're right. Maybe the separating factor between a second line and first liner is can this guy pot you 30 goals? And I don't know if Chernyshov is that guy. Maybe develops into it. You never know. But he could also just be the San Jose Sharks' Mark Stone. And I don't think Mark Stone's ever scored 30 goals in his career. Most of the time because injury and also because he's more of a playmaker. But
that's
you need
takeaways
too.
You
need the defensive side.
Exactly.
Although there was a few takeaways that I saw that reminded me of that.
Really?
That projection.
Okay.
Like just a few of those takeaways that like lifts the stick and takes the puck the other way. That I was like, that's
nice.
Stone-esque.
In my story about Chernyshov, I did clip something from the Calgary game where he lost it in the offensive zone, and he skated back hard, and he took it from Morgan Frost.
Yep.
So it was a 2-on-2 if he didn't skate back hard, but he skated back hard and he took the puck back. And I don't think he counts as a takeaway for him, but he basically disrupted Frost where another Shark could take it, and that's the kind of thing that. Mark Stone is such a lofty comparison. That's why it's hard because Mark Stone may not be a great goal scorer of, like I said, a 30-35 goal guy, but Mark Stone adds so much that he's a clear-cut first 100%. Liner, right? Playmaker, defense, everything.
Big body. He does so much. Yeah. But like that's what you really want. It's just like that's like again, like you said, the lofty projection. That I think it's just hard to see that it's hard not to want that. Like Mikko Rantanen and Mark Stone, when you look at his frame and you look at his skill, and you're like, that's what I really, really want. Do you think that could
happen though? Like legitimately? I mean, you watch a lot of prospects.
Let's call it Mark Stone light.
Okay.
Like
I'm just asking. Yeah. Okay.
I honestly think that he has enough there. I think maybe there's some specialness that's missing. I think from like his specific like one-on-one play that I think is missing that could separate him into like that Rantanen, Mark Stone, those.
You make a great point there. Yeah.
But he's more of the complementary playmaking guy right now. But there could be development to come ahead that we haven't seen yet. So.
To your point too, though, is with the one-on-one side, I think that, and this is just observational, but I believe based on the way he's played his first couple of games, he was most likely told by the coaching staff, just play a north-south game, drive the net. Like, keep it simple, go wide, drive the net. Because that's the way he's been playing. But that's not the way he always plays. We've seen him play in other leagues. He is more like, let me use my hands. He has great hands in stick handle and get to the inside. And I think with confidence and positional awareness that we'll start to see more of that skill play that you're referring to. And I don't think it's Rantanen or Mark Stone, but I mean he's a better skater than Mark Stone, I'll tell you that. But everything else probably.
Mark Stone
like you said,
is so like smart though. Like yesterday, Mark Stone gets ahead of Cardwell and Ferraro.
Oh yeah,
and those are both in a straight line race, right? Like those guys would blow him away, but Stone hit the hit the soft spot quicker.
Yeah, he's unreal.
Than those two, and he scored. That's the one he scored on. But did you? I had something else I wanted to add, but you have something that you were finishing there, Z?
No, go ahead.
Okay. I want to talk about that compact. One thing I actually asked a lot of the scouts for my story, but I didn't insert it, is interesting. Someone told me, I don't remember if it was a scout or something over the last week, but someone's like, he looks kind of like a poor man's Nichushkin. And I kind of thought to myself, is that kind of lazy though? Because big and Russian, like it seems like it's really easy, you know? And so I specifically asked actually like 4 or 5 scouts, like, do you see that? And the general feedback I got speaks to Keegan's point, is that just basically that they think that Chernyshov, they don't see the same quite as dynamic as a Nichushkin can be. And so even though the games are different, and also they pointed out that Nichushkin is like a monster physically. Like Nichushkin's like 6'5", and granted Chernyshov just 20, so Chernyshov maybe can grow into it, but like, he's not quite the physical monster that Nichushkin is too. But that they didn't quite see that. And so even though they did say, that is kind of lazy because just different kind of players, and just because he's big and Russian, you can't comp him. But they didn't hear that and be like, oh no, this guy's going to be better, or this guy's going to be at this level. And so they're a little more restrained on their praise about him. But they love him though. So there's no question about that. Like I think I told Keegan this. Like the last prospect that the Sharks had that like everyone I talked to just loved, besides Macklin obviously, was unfortunately it doesn't always work out. Was Mukka Madulin a couple years ago when Mukka Madulin had his AHL All-Star season. They were loving him that year. Same people, and they were talking him up. They were talking. I mean, one of the stories, one scout was like, "I see some Bouwmeester in him." Jay fucking Bouwmeester, that's a good fucking player, And so sometimes I get things from readers and they feel like the scouts are talking down the Sharks prospects, or they are like, I don't know, they're using me as like a way to bargain with GMs. It's really, I don't get that perspective, but like why you would use me for that, because everybody sees the same player. You don't need to say in the story, you don't need to talk down the Sharks player in the story to lower his trade value. Anyway, the point of all that is just to say that like I think that over the years I've talked with a lot of the same people, and like I trust them. I wouldn't put out stories with them if I didn't trust them. And so they're not so effusive in their Chernyshov praise that they're talking like first line. They're talking, right? Maybe not. They're talking. Yeah, because granted, when Mark Stone was 20, I don't think people were talking about like that, because he was like a 5th round pick or something like that. Sure. He was slow. So yeah. So granted, yes, very true. But they're not talking him up like Nichushkin. He's going to be Nichushkin. People underrate how good Nichushkin is. Yeah, I think. They are not talking him up like Mark Stone or Rantanen or any of those kind of guys. And so while they really like the player, and while I really like the player, I want to kind of keep the hype balloon a little lower,
Chang's the Grinch this
I was about to say it.
Can't let us have our
saying, like, you see that speed there in a second, and you think Mikko Rantanen, but like Mikko Rantanen's got so much more than just speed, right? Mikko Rantanen's got like vicious wrist shot that can score from anywhere on the fucking ice, right? Yeah. And the smarts too, obviously, and experience,
and just like the
playmaking,
hands of God, like that.
Yeah.
But to your point, there was a lot of times in juniors where he's making a lot of small area plays with his hands through guys that I don't think is happening right now. No. So it's there, the skill's there. I think they're honestly looking at his projection, his overall growth. I see a top 6 forward. I don't think middle 6 is really the way that I would put it. I would say top 6.
Same.
I'm in that category. First or second line yet?
Yeah.
But, like,
I've watched a lot of Chernyshov too, and I'm with you, Keegan. I think he's top 6, and I'm with you. And I think his game's going to go.
I know you're not.
No, you're just sharing evidence from
scout opinion.
Yeah, the scout, and so. All right, so I'm gonna move to if anything else on Chernyshov you guys want to mention.
Do you have a wish, Zubair? I don't think we got your wish. So.
Yeah. Last thing, the reason why I keep saying Mark Stone is like just the playmaking aspect of Mark Stone and the power forward aspect, right? Like it's not just because of I don't think that Chernyshov is going to get that two-way thing that Mark Stone's known for, but like the playmaking of Mark Stone is what I look at and reminds me of Chernyshov. It's that smarts, it's that small area play, it's that, like you said, like even if you're not, like Chernyshov has the speed, but Mark Stone, even though he is objectively kind of slow, he's so smart that he gets ahead of the play so frequently that you don't even really notice it. Like he's on breakaways, he's on 2-on-1s all the time because he's just so smart of where the puck's going to be. And that's the thing that I like with Chernyshov a lot. So, I think that 100%. He's not going to develop that amazing two-way ability that Mark Stone has, probably, but you never know. There's just a lot of routes that Chernyshov can go.
I wonder if there's a player that doesn't have the defensive upside that is a better comp than Mark Stone. Because to me, to your point, and you mentioned it was like, that's just so much of his game. And then there's certain players that just can't turn off that like next gear. That's Mark Stone. Like you can even see he's in pain while he skates, and he has a pretty atrocious stride. But he gets there and he gets the job done better than anybody. And that's what, like, some players just have that. I haven't seen that level of compete yet, and from Chernyshov. But I wonder, to your point of like, because you're talking about a very narrow scope of like the skill set of where they're comparable. I'm wondering if there's got to be a comp that comes to mind that has the size. Yeah, because I can't unthink those parts of Mark Stone, which are my favorite attributes. Was like the compete, the defensive side. But anyways, we'll come to it. But I see your point. I think it's a good one too. And I think he's going to continue to develop. And he's only 20. He just turned 20 on the 30th.
Yeah.
So.
All right. What do you got?
It is impressive. Yeah.
What's your wish for the second half, C?
All right. So my wish for the second half is, I mean, I don't know how people are going to like this, but if the Sharks are not making playoffs, and we can't say making playoffs is a wish, then I hope that they position themselves to get our number one defenseman in the draft this year.
Okay.
That's my wish. I really,
How do
Keegan,
they
you
do
and me
that?
talk about it a lot. I mean, you're bottom 5 in the league. So
you want them to lose?
That's not what I'm saying. But yes,
I'm just
that's,
wondering.
that's
no, because
intended.
Yeah,
Of course, that's
what
how we'll
you're
have to
saying
get
then.
there.
Yeah, so,
but if
yeah.
they're not making
Yeah.
playoffs, I know this sounds weird, and I hate to watch the Sharks lose. And maybe they win the lottery. They don't have to lose, okay? But this is a Christmas wish. Christmas wish, actually, they don't lose, but they're not in playoffs, and they win the lottery, and they get a top 5.
Okay,
even
they
a
win the
top
loss.
10.
So you wanted to Matthew Schaefer it. Okay.
Look, Keegan and I talked about this draft quite a bit. There's so many good defensive prospects. I want our clear-cut number 1, and I think you can get him in the top 10. So even if we get a top 10
Can
pick,
you, Keegan?
I think so.
I think so. I mean,
You think
I think so.
I think at least potential to
Yeah.
to be there. There's guys
Okay.
that are like very clearly going to be Keaton Verhoff and those kind of guys. But there's just so many good options that would at least excite you and bring something completely different to the Sharks core.
Yeah.
Chase Reed and Brian Lynn and Jackson Rudolph and Albert Schmitz. There's like guys that give me a lot more excitement. Even Dickinson is obviously still awesome as a prospect, but these guys, like, offensively, I think we've got another gear there. So
Yes. And I got
Do you
one more.
think, do you think these guys are
Yeah.
better prospects than Dickinson in his draft year?
Better or different? I think more offensive upside.
for sure.
Okay.
Yeah,
just wondering.
Bierhoff is, yeah.
Better.
So-
no, I'm talking better specifically. No, I'm not talking offensive upside. I'm talking specifically better.
Okay.
Bierhoff
Gotcha.
is for sure.
Yeah.
I think
okay.
he's a
wondering.
more complete.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gives you
I agree.
everything that you need prospect and is a much more complete player than Dickinson was in his draft year for sure. But that's the only one I could say definitively. Smith's is more interesting, and I think and Villeneuve they both have more offensive upside. I think, but like I wouldn't say that they're totally there yet.
Yeah.
They're kind of more comparable to Dickinson. Ryan Lynn I love, but he's small and probably will be drafted later. And then Chase Reed I also love. I think he's got untapped potential, but we'll see it at the World Juniors actually.
Okay. And I'm going to throw one more in there because it's the holidays, but it would be fun to see, obviously this is a longer conversation, but I would like to see Misa again, and see some of the youngsters, if the Sharks are trending this way, see some more youngsters in general just get more opportunities. I would
So
like
you
to see
want
that.
Misa back with the Sharks then? After the
Yeah,
World,
just-
you don't
just
want him going
just
back to the CHL. Okay.
Forget contract, forget burning the first year, forget all the logistics. I would just like to see him on the Sharks again after World Juniors, and it would just be fun and entertainment. Just full wish. Somehow it would be fun to see Misa again.
Love it.
Yeah.
All
right.
A Misa reunion with the Sharks. Maybe he's gonna have the opportunities playing. This is gonna be in our very quick Keegan's prospect corner, but he's gonna be playing top line minutes for the World Juniors. So
Exactly.
Oh, I said one more wish I want to throw in relation to yours, though, Zubair. Just a quick aside is I'd love it for the Sharks to actually make a trade that helps them try to make the playoffs, whatever that is, right? Like whether that's that trade for a Byram type, a young defenseman that can help grow with them. I'm not telling them to be stupid. I'm not saying trade the Edmonton pick for like straight up for Rasmus Andersson and then let Rasmus Andersson walk in offseason. That would be stupid. Unless Rasmus is going to sign here, then that makes no sense, right? So I'm not saying like that, but just something that kind of makes sense for where the team is, but also is clearly geared toward helping the team right now, but in the future too. And just would love to see the Sharks not subtract at the deadline for once. But go ahead, Zubair.
No, all right. No, I love that wish. I think that's a really good one. Yeah. And all right, so we had one more. We love Santa, but what about the elves? So let's.
That's a good way to put it.
Very good. Very good.
We wanted to talk. We all get one. Maybe, and we just talk about our unsung heroes of the Sharks this year.
Okay.
Obviously, with Macklin getting the rightful praise he's getting.
Yeah, for sure.
But, he is overshadowing everyone. We all get one. Keegan, why don't you go first? Who's your unsung hero?
Let me throw. You have a few on this list, though, that I think we should throw out, though, just because we talked a lot about
let's all pick ours first, and then we can mention the supporting staff. Yeah.
No, there's a couple that I think shouldn't be even on this list, so, but that's fine.
All right.
Oh,
well, my guy.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. I'm just gonna say it because I think we'll just we'll argue the point too much. I really liked the way that Mario Ferraro was played this year.
Okay,
I think that's my unsung.
Yeah, that's why.
That's a good take.
I wanted to stay away from the easy Colin Graff because we already talked about Colin Graff.
You could
so I
talk
love
about
it.
Colin Graff.
All right.
No, Mario Ferraro. Yeah. I think that.
Okay.
But whether or not he sticks with the Sharks, I think.
Yeah, I don't think he is. Go ahead.
Yes, Yang thinks he's traded soon. But it would be tough to say like that he hasn't been one of the most consistent defenseman this year. Like Orlov was started off a little bit rough and it's gotten more consistent for sure. Klingberg obviously started off pretty rough and then got a little bit better. Dickinson, Mukabadulin, they've been up and down. Mm-hmm. But Ferraro, it's been Ferraro, and he's been pretty good the whole time. And I think there's times when, like, I think he was last game or 2 games ago where he's jumping up in the rush and he's trying to create plays that you're like, oh yeah, Ferraro can do that sometimes as well. So I think he's been very good defensively, very solid for the Sharks. And he, if he does move on, I think that because of the way he's playing, I think a playoff team could use him in a way that's going to get his value up enough that Sharks could actually get something good for him. And if they decide to go that route, the problem is I don't want to see him traded for nothing if the Sharks are like trying to make the playoffs. So I'd rather have him walk than get like a late second.
You think so? Okay, yeah, because I don't know if he'll get that first still. I still feel like that's what they want, but maybe he'll get that second. But then I don't know if that's good enough for you. So.
If they're out of the playoffs, like Zubair said, then yeah, it makes sense. Like if like they go on a huge losing streak to start the year and like they're towards the bottom of the standings, yeah, take the second. But if they're right where they are right now and it's February 21st or whatever, and we're getting a couple weeks away from the trade deadline, I think I'd rather see them try and make a run of it with Ferraro than
I'm generally with you, yeah, for sure. Like, if it's not a first, I don't think you really need it that bad if you're the Sharks. I mean, you've got so many good prospects already and good players, young players, but...
That's my unsung hero.
I love it. I think that's a great one. I'll be quick. I think there's so many. I think Askarov is like an easy one. He's just been
I don't think he's
unreal.
Unsung. That's the one guy I was going to say. I don't think he's unsung. Like I feel
like everyone's
he's like become
unsung.
Like the third most popular Shark behind Macklin and Will. So
and rightfully so. I think that's well deserved.
He's the goalie.
But my unsung hero is going to be Orlov.
Nice.
I think Dmitry has been an amazing stabilizing factor to the Sharks D, and there's so many subtle plays where the puck just moves in the right direction. He stands up, he's physical, he's a half a pointed player, game player right now for the Sharks on the back end, and when he needed to play power play, he did well enough, and he's just been so consistent. I think overall in the season, he's my unsung hero. I've been loving Orlov's play, and I think he's really brought the bar up of the team.
Yeah, I do agree on that, and also too, he brings a level of physicality that we haven't seen on a regular basis. I mentioned this, I think, since like Radim Šimić maybe, like when Orlov gets somebody,
Burroughs.
he gets you
Burroughs
fucking
was
good.
the last guy on the Sharks that did
Burroughs would do it too, but Burroughs was like didn't play enough and wasn't he wasn't doing it regular enough because Burroughs wasn't good enough to do on a regular basis at this level. But like Šimić that year with Burns was doing it on a pretty regular basis his first year, and maybe before that, I don't know, Doug Murray maybe. I don't know, man. So.
Yeah, he's hitting for sure. He's laying out the hip checks more than we've seen.
And they're timed well. Like he uses them not to be. It's like this is the best play to stop the play. It's not like let me just get it. He's not like angry and taking himself out of the
he's
play
not
to
getting
hit.
himself out of position, just searching for hits, right?
It's the right move at that time, and he has the skill set to do it, which is great. All right, that's my unsung
And
here.
I appreciate too that we're watching Orlov we're watching Orlov kind of in the latter part of his career too. Like this isn't like prime Dmitry Orlov. But he's still quite a good player. So I appreciate that. Like, I think he's compensating to some degree, just like Klingberg has, right? In terms of just maybe not being quite exactly what they were a decade ago physically and whatnot, or 5 years ago, but like they're still fucking good players, both of them, in different ways, obviously. But anyway, my unsung hero, I'm going to add two, just because I always like to talk. So very quick shout out to Wenberg, just because, he may not be your ideal 2C, but I think he's been incredible for the Sharks overall, even though it's not his fault that he's sort of being overstaffed here, right? Like I mentioned, I may have mentioned this before, and I got to put out the story, but I think he leads the NHL in steals for forwards, which is incredible. That's in terms of pass interceptions and direct like steals, takeaways. Wow. Also too, his footwork is incredible. There isn't I think he might be better than Macklin in terms of just his footwork. Like you throw a pass into Wenberg's skates, he's going to kick it up. And the only other Shark that consistently does that is Macklin. I think it would be a good contest, see who has better footwork. Eklund's pretty good at it too. So it might be that European soccer thing, but Wenberg is incredible with that. And so even though, yes, again, like he's not your dream to see for like when you're a Stanley Cup contender, but he's a guy like Orlov, right? Orlov is not a dream number one defenseman by any stretch at this point in Dmitry's career. But he and Orlov, Wenberg, have kind of helped bring up the Sharks' kind of class, their professionalism, their competency. Really is a good way to put it. And so that's also a guy like Tyler Toffoli too. You talk about some of the other veterans too have brought that level up. And then finally, the second guy though I want to say unsung hero that we didn't mention much is Ty Dellandrea.
And that's a guess for you.
Zubair, you shouted out earlier. You wanted to talk about Dellandrea for this segment. I want to make sure that we do talk him up a little bit because and he is also like Wenberg, where ideally Ty Dellandrea is not your 3C. There's not enough offense there at this point, right? Even though Ty is younger, so maybe it's in there, but I'm not seeing it. But in terms of just like giving you professional, competent minutes, 15 minutes a night, and he's going to be a motor all over the ice defensively and offensively, there's not a lot of like sort of natural playmaking or hands that we're seeing there. But, he's, centering the pass into the slot. He's going to the net. I mean, he's trying, and so he's brought up the sort of the competency of the Sharks at that role. Compared to last season and seasons past, impressively. He and Wenberg, just on a nightly basis. Just the professional, competent efforts. Yes, you need more offense from them when the team gets to that next level, which are not there yet. But I give them credit, again, in the same Orlov vein where it's not Dellandrea's fault that he's playing 3C. He is the Sharks' third best center right now. That's just the roster construction, right? That's their depth right now. Same with Wenberg. He is just the Sharks' second best center right now. But they've both done a very, very good job overall for what they are in those roles.
Absolutely agree.
Let's give our last unsung hero to Ryan Warsofsky.
Oh yeah.
Ooh.
Let's do it to Warsaw.
That's unfair.
That's a great cut.
The fans are on him, but I think there's so many examples of him doing a good job. Like his loyalty to Klingberg, I think, stood out. Where he just was like, look, like he is our best option, and we see the pieces there, and he stuck by his guy, and John rewarded him with an incredible road trip, right?
I'm just saying, who else sacrificed their kids for some wins to be 500?
Come on.
I don't
We're
think
not sure
that
which
happened.
one.
I don't think that happened. I saw his kids a couple days ago, so I
did you?
don't think
All
that
right.
happened. Yeah, so I can confirm he did not sacrifice his kids. So confirm.
I'm doing the I'm full on Sheng Peng this episode. I shouted out Goodrow,
I know.
Ferraro, and
Look
Ryan
at you.
Warsofsky.
Look at you.
It's mind blowing. I did talk about Chernyshov though. So.
But I think he's handled the kids generally well too. I know that
I
there's a
agree.
lot of consternation about Mukamadulin, but I don't think those guys like Dickinson. I don't think those guys have like taken minutes. And it is disappointing with Mukamadulin because Mukamadulin he's 24 now, actually. He's not 23. So Dickinson is fine. Dickinson's 19, so I'm not that worried about him right now. But I think he's been okay with that. I'm not like he's been like amazing, I wouldn't have minded if Mukamadulin got maybe a little bit more of a stretch there. But on the other hand, the Sharks have 8-9 defensemen, which we talked a lot about, which is definitely not on Warsofsky.
Yeah.
And so I think he's handled everything like pretty well this year. I think I've seen growth from last year as a coach.
Let's go right into the World Junior.
Let's play the music though. I think the music is still if the music is we're not doing a specific focus, but Keegan's just giving us a World Juniors preview to kind of wrap up Sharks Edward.
Keegan's Prospect Corner. Keegan's Prospect Corner. Keegan's Prospect Corner.
Bam. Amazing.
I don't know. That's Zubair at the end too, and
Is that Zubair?
that is actually, yeah. I want to shout out very quickly that I thought it was me because I did something like that a couple episodes ago, but that was Zubair, and also shout out again Will Newman for making that for
It's so good.
for
Look
us.
forward to it. We've gotten a few comments that they go to this segment just for the song, and
They
then
do.
leave.
No,
they
it's
don't
not
listen
for
to
the
any
song.
of
It's for the song. No, it's for you, Keegan. It's for you. So
No, I mean, if it's okay if you do, that's totally fine with me. You're at least listening to the song, which is the most important part. We're not going to do the traditional, like Sheng was saying, not the traditional, like, one Shark and one 2026 guy. We're going to do just a kind of overview of the World Juniors, because typically with Sheng and I have done this podcast, this is like a huge thing. We go and get an expert to come on the show and preview all the guys, and we get to talk about like the upcoming draft, and it's a huge thing. But because the Sharks are in like the playoff hunt and there's not as much focus on the draft for the Sharks, we're
not yet.
not yet, at least. It's a little less exciting, but honestly, I'm pretty excited. The Sharks have 5 prospects at the World Juniors this year, which is pretty good overall. They're obviously missing their big players that have been there in the past, like Smith and Celebrini, although it was before he was drafted. But let's start with Team Sweden, where they have 1 representative in Leo Salin Wallenius, which I've always liked Leo Salin Wallenius. It's been one of my I liked that pick where they got him. I felt like he was a solid defenseman in his draft here. They got him at the end of the second in 2024. He's played typically between like 15, 18 minutes, maybe even a little bit less on his Swedish team in the SHL. The Lakers, I won't try to say their first name because I have no idea how to pronounce. I think it's
Vaxsho.
Yeah, but
Vaxsho,
it's not
maybe.
that. It's like
no. Okay.
It's some sort of strange pronunciation. But anyway, he has 4 points in 16 games there. He's slated to play probably the most minutes for the Swedish team on defense.
I've heard that. That's exciting. Yeah.
Yeah, super exciting. He had been in the pre-tournament games, had been on and off the power play as well. But he's one of the more steady defensemen. He looked great in the World Junior Summer Showcase as well when I watched him there. He looked like one of Sweden's best defenders, and they're missing like Tom Wallander and guys that have been there in the past that have kind of anchored that blue line. It might be up to Leo Salin Wallenius. It's going to be more of a committee style.
Yeah.
But because they don't have like the big guy, they don't have Axel Sandy Pellico, Tom Wallander. They don't have like the big hitter. But Wallenius is going to be, I think, a solid defenseman for them and provide a little bit of offense, get the puck out of the zone, more of a two-way guy overall. So excited for his play, excited for his future as a pro. We'll see how far his specific skill set takes him, but he has that defensive mind that he can definitely play at the pro level. So we'll just see where he goes from there. I just don't know if the offense is all there enough to really make you more than like a third line kind of guy, but we'll see. So that's our only representative for Team Sweden. There is baby Eklund, but he will not be. He was not drafted by the Sharks. He was drafted by the Islanders. Victor Eklund, as
Is
well
he having
as
a good season, Victor?
I think he's being out. If I remember right, he's scoring well, but I think Anton Frondel is outscoring him.
Okay, just wondering.
SHL.
Okay, yeah.
He's got 11 points in 25 games, which is honestly pretty good for your draft plus 1 year in the SHL. He only has 1 goal, which is interesting because he's got a good shot too. Yeah, and Frondel has 10 goals and 15 points.
Isn't that mirroring Williams' kind of D1 year?
That's actually
right?
a really good point.
That's kind of funny, huh? Yeah.
That's really funny. Yeah, like Eklund struggled to score in his draft plus 1 year. He
I remember. Yeah,
went many games without a goal. But Victor Eklund has just a better shot at this age than William did. So it's interesting he's only got 1 goal, but still love that player. More of a bulldog mentality than Eklund was. And then Sweden obviously has Ivar Stenberg, who, if you are not aware, and we'll have an Ivar Stenberg prospect corner at some point. He's going to be going probably top 3 in this draft. He's having a ridiculous SHL season. He's got 24 points in 25 games for Frölunda.
Wow. Okay.
Which is a great.
Is he
program.
a winger?
Yes. Yeah,
okay.
He's a winger, skilled.
Okay.
He's leading Frölunda in points as a 18-year-old.
Wow, that is impressive. Yeah.
He's an older 18-year-old. He's born in September, but he is extremely smart, extremely skilled, great puck handler, great passer. Gets to the front of the net too. He's not like shy away from contact kind of guy either. So I like him a lot. It's just he's not a premium position and he's not big. He's like 6 foot tall, so he's not like the most exciting of a top 3 pick. But some team is going to get a very good player out of him for sure. Maybe the Sharks if they start to suck. So that's my Sweden breakdown. The Sharks also have 2 goalies in the World Junior. One playing for Switzerland, Christian Kirsch. Who Christian's had an interesting route to his career so far. He was drafted the 4th round in 2024. Then his post-draft year, he played in the NAHL and the USHL, and then he also played in the World Juniors for Switzerland and got lit up a little bit. But Switzerland doesn't have an amazing team. So, but he did okay in the NAHL, but it was a little bit of like a shock because you kind of expected him to stick in the USHL, and he had to go down to the NAHL to really find his groove, and that was last year. This year he's in the OHL with Kitchener, looking better. Got 21 games, .901. I believe he's slated to be Switzerland's number 1 this year, just from experience and probably from a talent perspective. But I don't know if it's going to be the most. I think there's pluses there, but I worry this because of the way that this team is constructed that he might get lit up a lot. So we'll have to see. The other guy is Elijah Neuschwander, will be their goalie as well. So it'll probably be like a 1 and 2 kind of situation with him and Christian Kirsch. So
from the goalie perspective, sometimes that's a good thing, like in terms of just experience. You know, you want to. I've talked to my nephews, 3 goalies, and they're like, one of their teams is not very good, but he loves it because the amount of pucks he sees, as opposed to just sitting on half the ice. So from a development standpoint, not the worst thing.
Yeah, and always been more of a long-term project with him, for sure. And they knew that right after his draft year, like that he was going to take a step back and then have to go back to the USHL. But yeah, it's... we'll have to see with Christian Kirsch. Our other goaltender, Joshua Ravensbergen, is probably going to be the 3rd goalie for Canada. He's having a great year in the WHL. 921, 22 games. He looked good in the World Junior Summer Showcase, too, when I watched him there. He's got tons and tons of skills. Just the guys ahead of him are... Carter George is more senior and slated to be the number 1, and then Ivan Kovic is probably the number 2. He's also a great pick. So, Ravensbergen might get into a game, but we'll have to see. Being the 3rd goalie, he might not. He might be behind Carter George, who just runs the whole tournament. But it's at least cool that he's there, and next year he'll probably be the number 1, unless some guy comes out of nowhere, or he'll have to split it with Ivan Kovic. So, good that he got invited, and he also didn't get cut. There was the talk that they might only go with 2 goalies, and they went with 3, so they kept him. So they clearly like him enough to keep him on as the 3rd goalie. So excited about those 2 goalies. We have 2 more players. Cole McKinney for Team USA. Cole McKinney was drafted in the 2nd round of last year's draft. He is going to be playing pretty much 3rd line, 4th line center for this Team USA squad, which is pretty cool. Kind of like the Brandon Svoboda role in the past, where he provides you with a lot of PKing ability, a lot of net front presence, a lot of grit and jam, and that's kind of Cole McKinney's game, even in college right now. He's got like 11 points in 20 games for Michigan. I like Cole McKinney a lot. He's just a solid hockey player.
He's also got really good hands. It's like he's got the skills there too. It's not like super high end, but I really like his skill as well. And I mean, good size, right? Yep. So he's got the size as well. And yeah, I really
he's not
like
the biggest
him as well.
guy. He's like 6 foot or so.
3.
He's not a big guy.
Okay, I thought he's 6'3".
No, he's like 6 foot.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think there was William Moore is bigger, I think. But no, Cole McKinney's like 6 foot or so. He is kind of like more of a
Are you sure?
guy.
I thought he grew quite a bit this year.
Still listed at 6 foot.
Okay.
Unless he grew the 3 inches somehow.
Yeah, I guess I'm the source I'm looking at lists him at 6'3".
Where?
Wikipedia, I mean, has him at 6'3". Let me check Elite Prospects as well. But
yeah, EP has him at 6 foot, and then Michigan's page has him at 6'1". So somewhere between that, which means he's probably 5'10". Because that's hockey logic.
Yeah, exactly.
But no, Cole McKinney, I think he's going to be playing that perfect bottom 6 center role that we saw.
Sorry to interrupt. I just jumped back on. I was shaking my head at something I was reading. Sorry about that.
You were off for a while, actually. There.
Yeah, I know. The Wi-Fi is pretty bad. But go ahead. Sorry, I just want to let people know. Yeah, I was shaking my head at something, but it wasn't what you guys were saying. So
that's those are the 4 guys. Our last guy is, of course, Michael Misa, who last year, actually, I think he only played or he was left off of Team Canada, even though he was having a monster year in the OHL, continued to have a monster year in the OHL afterwards with Chernyshov, and it was like, oh, maybe we should have had that guy on the team. And now, full on, he's going to be their number 1 center for this squad, probably playing next to Gavin McKenna most shifts, and I am super pumped to see what they do together. It's Gavin McKenna obviously has had an up and down season, and we still have to do a prospects corner on McKenna for sure, but he's going to dominate this World Juniors probably in terms of point production. It's just a matter of when the games get tough against teams like USA, against Sweden, how much can McKenna and Misa really elevate past those squads. It's going to require a little bit more of an effort, I think. Not from me, maybe a little bit from Misa, but from McKenna. I think that people are going to be looking to McKenna as the savior of the squad, and if Canada doesn't win gold, they'll probably still blame it all on McKenna unless he has like a bajillion points. So, but I really am excited to see Misa with such a really great line mates, and that they have faith in him to just be their number 1 center. He deserves it. This is going to be a spotlight for him for sure, and hopefully projects him into the NHL afterwards. So excited to see him for sure. Games start tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern, I think. So
I think Misa, Salin, Wallenius, right? Those are the 2 guys they look at like, hey, this could be like a big, like kind of a, I don't know. They have the stage is set for them to take on like big roles and kind of. Yeah, especially Salin Wallenius, right, to kind of change perceptions of them a little bit.
Yeah, so. Both of them, it's going to likely... Well, Misa very likely will be his last World Juniors. He probably will not be playing there next year, even though he could. And then, same thing, Leo Wallenius. It's like, you're the big dog now. So the other 3 guys, McKinney, Ravensburg, and Kirsch. Kirsch, you just don't have a lot of expectations for just because Switzerland's not great. Ravensburg, and next year is going to be the year. And then... same thing for McKinney. I think he's just next year is gonna move up in the lineup. But this year you're expecting just some good bottom 6 play from McKinney. really, really excited to see what Misa does and just to see him healthy again. He's only played 9 games this year, and it
Good
just
point. Yeah.
hasn't gotten into that groove that you want him to be in to play on the Sharks. So if he looks good this tournament, I'm excited for him to come back and hopefully play on the Sharks. But we'll see.
Fulfill
Lots still to happen.
Zubair's prediction, right, of him taking the 2C job, which would be great. That'd be awesome if he did. So, I did want to mention with Dickinson that I still feel I don't you know, there's a lot that goes into it that we don't know, but and I think part of it could be that we're not sure how healthy the Sharks blue line is. But if they have Liljegren and Desharnais back after Christmas, that I think it would have been good for him to go. That's just my like dime store take there. But
I don't know.
Yeah,
I think they've done a lot with Dickinson in terms of it wouldn't ruin his confidence to go to the World Juniors, right? Like but just it's got to feel like a step back for him in a way that I think he might not really appreciate at this stage.
Maybe.
I know.
Fair.
I think that big lift of I'm staying past 9 games. It probably, and he's thought. I think there's been ups and downs with his play, and obviously certain times, like you said, that not defending that 2-on-1 correctly, and then certain handles with the puck where he turns it over. But he's been solid enough that I think they just were more worried about doing something to his confidence by sending him, and they still want to win games, and I think they think that he's probably tough to say. You're right how healthy the blue line is, but probably one of your 7 best defenders. It just he's on that borderline, so I get what you're saying. Like maybe they could have sent him back and played big minutes for Canada, but I'm happy in the NHL.
Yeah, I think you do make a good point that I think he does happy to be here, I would say. Yeah. So maybe that played a part in it too. But
yeah, because something like Zane Parekh got he can't go back to juniors, right? Kind of like in that similar boat as Dickinson. But he started the year with Calgary, and it was kind of a disaster. Like he just wasn't playing well, wasn't putting up any points, looked very out of place in a lot of games, and it was pretty noticeable. And then now he's back to juniors, or he's at the World Juniors, which he's going to play big minutes and put up a shit ton of points. But I think that's what was a little bit of a disappointment with Parekh, whereas like they're avoiding that with Dickinson by keep playing him. So, yeah. All right, are you guys excited?
Yeah.
Gonna watch the World Juniors?
I will.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm super excited. I'm actually really excited about Cole McKinney as well. I'm glad that you talked about him because long term, I really like his place on this team, and we're always Greer's really on the hunt for that 3 and 4C. So he has a certain type.
He hunts for like you said, he hunts that 3-4C type a lot with Svoboda and Bistad and McKinney,
Chucky.
Chucky.
Yeah.
He hunts that a lot, and then he has the that big scoring winger that he hunts for, like Chernyshov and Musty and Lund and Halton and like skilled big wingers. So and then he hunts for like your plug and play 4th line, 3rd line guys like Wetch and Mutrin. So I like the way that the generally the team drafts. They draft in a smart manner instead of, I don't know what the word is, like just a hope and pray kind of manner. Not to say anything about anybody's drafting, but it's just I like the change with their drafting for sure.
I'm all in on Canada this year, guys. So Michael Misa, Macklin Celebrini, all in on Canada. Sorry, America.
I mean, yeah, and you get to see Gavin McCann with Michael Misa.
I don't care about that. I want all about
Still
Misa,
USA.
Misa,
Sorry,
Misa,
Macklin. Sorry, Matt, for the Olympics.
USA. I'm just joking.
Yeah. No, I'm super excited, and Canada just got such a loaded forward group this year.
Yeah.
Like they're missing like. It'd be funny because Celebrini's technically eligible for this tournament, which is hilarious.
I know. Isn't that insane? It's insane. It's insane.
But yeah, they've got McKenna, Barteau, Misa. They've got Michael Hayes, Iginla, Danoe, Chet Luchenko. They've got like so many top 10, 15 picks in their forward group. So they could have used Dickinson on defense, honestly. But oh well.
Well, so guys, this is a great episode, and we got exciting hockey for the holidays. So thanks, Keegan. And I just wanted to say too, for the holidays, I'm grateful for you guys, and obviously we miss Boilers. I wore my Rage Against the Machine hat tonight for his karaoke session of "Killing in the Name of" at Randy's place. So we say happy holidays to Boilers as well, and just grateful for you guys and all the Shark stuff this year. It's been a lot of fun, and we just next up we have a fantastic interview with Zenon Konopka.
We have another Z coming on.
Got another Z. I told him, I was like, we can't have 2 Z's on this episode. He's like, well, the boys call me Nopper. So Nopper's on his way on, which is a great nickname. And the only thing I'll say about Z is, like, I've never seen a resume quite like his. And we'll talk about it a little bit. But
yeah,
if you guys haven't seen the 2016 documentary Ice Guardians, he's one of the people in that documentary a lot. But you really can't put him in that category of, a goon. He was so much more than that on and off the ice, and there's a reason why the Washington Capitals and the San Jose Sharks use him as a face-off specialist. So we go deep into face-offs and a couple of great stories, so enjoy it. And from San Jose Hockey Now, happy holidays, everyone.
Yeah, happy holidays, everybody. Grateful to you guys and to everybody listening.
Happy holidays, everybody.
See you guys.
Bye.
We got a really special guest today. Zenon Konopka played for 7 NHL teams over parts of 10 seasons. Most PIMs in the NHL 2 seasons in a row. And with the Islanders, you had over 300 penalty minutes in a single season. A record I think that has not been broken since. Is that right?
That's correct. And the way the NHL plays now, it might stick around for a little while.
Fucking right. You won a Memorial Cup with the Ottawa 67s and captained the Syracuse Crunch. And over 700 stitches on your face, but never lost a tooth, which is just an anomaly. Even though you took a slap shot off the face, you were telling us the other night in your first game?
Not first game, no, but it was first season.
First season. Insane. And quietly, second best face-off win percentage in NHL history. I mean, you were just a guy who would fight anyone, including guys way bigger than you, zero fear, and as old school as they get. In fact, you were even once fined for verbal abuse in the playoffs. I'll just say there's not another resume quite like yours. So welcome to the pod, and you're just a fucking beauty.
Yeah, well, no, thanks for having me on, guys. One, the verbal abuse was in the playoffs. I was playing for Ottawa. We played the New York Rangers, and the first game they roughed up Carlson, and me and Cartner went into the lineup the game 2. So Boyle was doing an interview with NBC at center ice, and I just went past and said it's going to be Retribution Day today.
The other Boyle,
Maybe.
just to be clear.
Yes,
Boyle,
yeah,
not this
Brian,
one.
yeah, Brian Boyle.
No.
the big Boyle.
Yeah.
Well,
So, and that was we ended up winning that game, and the Rangers won the President's Trophy that year, and we snuck in the playoffs. We were young, and we had them 3-2 going back to Ottawa, and Lundqvist stood on his head for game 6 and 7, and it was a tough loss in 7, but it was, I guess, maybe a little bit of a coming out party for my face-offs at the NHL level. I think it was like 70-75% in the series. I ended up playing a lot against Brad Richards in his line in the series, where game 1 I didn't even play. So the beauty of face-offs, I guess you get to play a little more and you stick around for a while. It's was part of my game from a young age.
Yeah, and I want to just set Zenon up just a little bit here. That season where he led the league, had 307 penalty minutes with the Islanders in 2010-11. He also was third in the NHL in face-off winning percentage. There's just nobody has a resume like that. But go ahead.
let's get right into the faceoffs because you're in San Jose right now working with the Sharks. Yeah, you worked with them a little earlier in the year too. Just how did this relationship come together? And also, like, when were you really good at faceoffs, and how did that sort of come about?
Yeah, I grew up in Niagara-on-the-Lake, which is right next to Niagara Falls, Canada, and we had a pretty good minor hockey team, but we always struggled, like, from the age of 8 to 12. Once we got out of our loop, we kind of got killed by the Toronto teams and bigger populations. And then a non-parent coach took over and named Al Boone, and he had 4 assistant coaches. They all wore suit and ties, and they kept stats. And they kept stats for, goals, assists, plus minus, but also hits, takeaways, giveaways, and face-off percentage. So when you get a piece of paper when you're 12 years old with your buddies, you want to be at the top of it. So that was kind of like the importance of face-offs off the bat. I actually played with Kevin Dahlman on that team. Kevin played a couple hundred games in the NHL and set some
Blues and Kings.
Yeah, and then set a record in Russia for the most, I think, points by a defenseman. So it's pretty crazy out of a small town, Niagara Lake, Niagara Falls, that we had two guys go to the NHL off that team. And then I played junior hockey in Ottawa. Brian Kilray was the coach, and pretty much if you didn't win faceoffs, you were playing center. So it helped me, again, get a little extra ice time and stuff like that. And I would, like, even when I came in, I worked with San Jose in the West, and I worked with Washington in the East. And my first thing when I come in, my percentage is second best of all time. Do I think I'm the second best faceoff guy all time? I don't. But the one thing that I had going for me is that I had probably 7 or 8 different moves on faceoffs. And, like we saw in the game against Dallas, first period we're above 50% on faceoffs. They're an older team. They got a bunch of guys that are pretty good at it. They made adjustments, and we struggled to make adjustments on their adjustments. So, it's an interesting part of the game. I guess with analytics coming prominently into the game, puck possession is so important. So if you start with the puck, it's usually, a better outcome on the score sheet.
I wonder if just directly talking about the Sharks directly, and everyone talks about Macklin. So how can Macklin Celebrini improve on the face-off?
Well, Macklin's got a lot on his plate. And I'll tell you, when I came at the end of the second week in camp, and he had a bit of an injury. So he was skating, but he wasn't really skating.
Oh, that's right.
Full
Yeah,
tilt.
I remember that, yeah.
A lot of people were talking about comparing him to kind of Crosby game, who plays a 200-foot game. Now coming back and seeing him in person, he's got a little bit of McDavid game in his game as well, like more than you realize on TV. You see him in live. He does things, he skates so well, but he does so many things at a high speed. And it's exciting. Obviously, he's a really, really special player, really smart player, but a really good guy off the ice as well, and a good leader. And with him, we talk about like little adjustments, and again, he's got so much going on. We don't want to overload him with face-off stuff and stuff like that. Really, it's certain guys, especially during the year, can kind of absorb more than others, and maybe guys that have more roles on the team, role plays, are more, I'll spend a little more time with them. And you try to do the best you can as a consultant to not overload. Now, saying that too, like, I mean, Mike Ricci is a really good face-off guy, and Jeff is, Jeff, the assistant coach.
Yeah, Jeff Ulmer. Yep.
Ulmer is all over face-offs too. So it's not like I'm the only guy here. The three of us work together, and it's tough when you're young. It's tough to win face-offs. Just ask Crosby in his first couple of years; he was horrible, right? So I think we're going down the right path, and we just got to keep working at it and try to get better percentages.
So, Z, when you were over the other day, it was like, I think within 10 seconds, we just like immediately started talking about Celebrini, and it was that goal. By the way, I just wanted to bring this up. Of what we talked about is, I think what a lot of people don't realize is usually when you see someone like Patty Kane or someone like that, they usually spinorama, or even Malkin's goal that we all know. It's like they have the puck and then they spin facing forward and then use it to get around someone. Boyler's had some nice spinoramas in his day. But in this case, what I thought was so amazing, what we were talking about on this goal, is as he was coming in and Graf, has the puck, there's no other lane to receive a pass. He turns around initially to open up the only gap between the two defenders of where he can get a pass, and then his ability to cradle. And that's kind of where we started talking about the goal. And you said, he is more McDavid-like. And I just think that's kind of insane, because McDavid's maybe the best player ever to play hockey.
Yeah. I mean, and I mean, it was on ESPN. It was on TSN back home as a top 10 nominee in the top 10 list. I really thought that his assist on the first goal was even better. Like, I thought that was like to do what he did and then sauce the puck on it. I think it was his backhand.
That was his backhand, yeah, right to Klingberg, yeah.
I honestly thought that was even higher, like scored marks on that one. But yeah, the kid is he's special and one of a kind for sure.
Yeah, that route he took too, because like first Klingberg gives him the puck and he's coming up the wall, and that everyone thinks he's going to pass back to Klingberg on the blue line, or cut to the middle, and then he just turns around and goes back down the line, and then he doesn't look at Klingberg at all in that backhand.
So I did TV yesterday, and just to add to that, and I did a little segment, I guess, if you will, on TV, and what I'm noticing more now because I watch him every game is you say he didn't see him. That's where I disagree. He saw him, but he saw him 3 seconds before. So
no. What I mean is he doesn't look at him.
Oh yeah. Okay.
He clearly knows where. Yeah.
So on that play before he breaks someone's ankles with the tight turn, I think he knows then and there that that's going backhand sauce to Klingberg at that moment, which is probably 2.5 seconds before he makes the play. And then the other segment he put Graf on a breakaway that game later on, and you could tell it's just a shoulder check, or sometimes it's not even a shoulder check. It's like a peripheral, if you will. And the best players in the game can do that. They just feel where somebody is, and sometimes you don't even have to look. You got to make that play. And then the last thing that I showed on this segment is just, we always talk about being good defensively. Well, people are going to put their sticks in a lane. They're going to take it away, but there's that Bermuda Triangle where as the stick gets closer and closer to your body, there's that little area that you can't, unless you bring your foot forward, you can't bring your stick that tight. And that's where the one play he made, it wasn't a goal or anything, but he made a pass, I think, to Foley in that little Bermuda Triangle. And he just finds passes that would normally get knocked off of people's or get intercepted or will hit a stick. His percentage of passes completed is higher than most players. But you're right. I agree with the Sidney Crosby comparison. I do agree with the Connor McDavid, especially when he gets going. And you can tell. I watched him again last night. When he comes back on the power play and he gets it late, I know what he's doing. Unfortunately, the Stars don't or whatever. But I know he's going left, but he's skating to the right side. I would have bet $1 million he's going to cut to his left. And again, I know he's going to change at some point. But Dallas Star guy, bites, and then it's been a pleasure to watch, and he's the best player I've seen, for me at least, all around. Again, McDavid, McKinnon, all world accomplished players, but I think he's the best player the NHL has seen in at least a decade, if not more.
This has to be a guarantee. He's on Team Canada. People are still talking about this. This is ridiculous.
There's no discussion.
There's a debate.
No debate.
Shut that debate down.
Shut that
every game.
over.
Some people in Canada need to watch some live games or stay up till 10.
Well, yeah, they don't watch
to watch them.
They don't watch. Yeah, they don't watch the Sharks for sure.
So talking about faceoffs, one of your 7-8 moves on faceoffs, Z, was one of them putting it between the other center's legs.
Going forward.
Did you teach going forward with it? Did you teach him that?
It's funny. A couple of my buddies are like, "Hey, did you teach him that move?" I'm like, "No, I did not." No, but what we do talk about is giving different looks. And I remember as a centerman, when I was younger in the league, I hated when someone went through my legs because I had a tough time of you have to try to block them or do something. Later in my career, I kind of figured out how to kind of negate it. But, that's what we're trying. That's what I'm trying to do. We're all trying to do with the coaching staff and is give different looks. Because I remember, later in my career, if someone's doing the same move, you're going to eat them up. Right. And, Dallas has a lot of guys that take faceoffs too, which most of them take them on their good side. So I think, next time I come back, I think the Barracudas will be in town and we're going to start working with the AHL team too and try to get some more depth for faceoffs, with the Sharks, not just for this year, but for the years to come.
Can I hop
It is
in?
definitely an area. I'll go ahead, Dan.
Yeah, one more question, Sheng. Sorry,
Yeah.
I played over 1,000 games, and I don't know the answer, but for the listeners, I think it might be interesting. Zen, I think I know the answer, but statistically, I'm sure you probably do actually know the answer. Is it statistically higher to win a faceoff on your backhand or on your forehand, or is it a pretty even split?
No, it's pretty heavily on your backhand.
Yeah, that's what I would think. But yeah.
Yeah. So that's when I say good side, that means I'm going to my backhand. Now, there is a couple play like Jonathan Taves. Jonathan Taves was pretty much the only guy that ever gave me like trouble.
I would ask you that.
When I played Bergeron, God said there was a lot of good face-off guys, but against the top guys, I did Malhotra, but Taves, and he went to his forehand, and we ended up playing him when I was in Minnesota. We played him in the playoffs. I think that was the last year they won the cup. So sorry to end of the story that obviously we didn't win the Stanley Cup. They did, and we got bounced out in the first round. But so I watched before the series probably 200 of his face-offs, maybe more. And what he does is slide down your stick. So like when I face Crosby or like say Kadri the other night, I'm trying to teach guys to take their stick, especially in the neutral zone, and get that into their head. And once you take their stick a couple times, then they won't go to the forehand. They'll go to their backhand, and now you're at a huge advantage because of the referee. But Taves would slide down the stick, and when I started kind of doing some consulting in the OHL and in college, I was showing the Taves move, and one of the players like, you must have, won a lot of faceoffs this way. I said, I didn't even know that move till I retired, but it was such a good move. I had to figure out how he did it, and we try to put it into the repertoire now. It's really good timing too, and it's like it's a really hard move to get, but if you do, it's deadly. So it's a little bit of face-off nerd talk, I guess.
Well, I think when it comes with Macklin, it is one of those things where he can still grow in this, and he probably will. Like, one of the interesting things that I noted is that both McDavid and Nathan MacKinnon still aren't regular 50% guys, whereas Crosby, he became one. He turned himself into one. And so what I want to ask you, Zenon, on this is Macklin's numbers. They're 48.2% last year, 47.7% this year, so about the same. How do you judge a guy or just the guy's face-off ability? Is it just the raw numbers, or are there other things that fans can look for besides just the raw win numbers?
No, it is. There's different factors into it, right? Because Macklin's taken every face-off when he's out there. He's put into some really tough positions. I don't even think Crosby was put in those positions in his first couple of years. So, we're making adjustments with him. I had a chat with him today about just a couple little things, and he'll be okay. Like, he's gonna be a good face-off guy. His core is good. We just got to add a few things, but again, like a player, when I learned this kind of when I went to the OHL and Ontario Hockey League in college, is that like you can't fast track things with face-offs. Certain guys pick up things really quickly. Like Ty picked up things really quickly in camp, but
Ty Dellandrea.
Yeah, but in camp, he's kind of fighting for his life. Now he's a huge part of this team and one of the biggest unsung heroes probably on this team. But at that time, he put a lot of work into his face-offs in camp to get to this point. And we had a chat today because now it's the next progression. Like he needs to add a couple more moves to it, which he will. But the one thing is, it's not a quick fix. Like I can give a couple tips that help them right away, but for the most part, it's a process.
And we're going to talk about Ty Dellandrea in a little bit. So I'm glad you mentioned him. But when you mentioned, I just want to make sure, when you mentioned Celebrini's core, what does that mean? Is that like his body or just like his core? Like what does it mean if a player has a good core for being a good faceoff man?
Like his hands, and be honest with you, Michael Misa has, like, when we talk about like a core faceoff foundation, it's like how strong you are on your stick. So really, if you can go backhand to backhand on your bad side and be able to win maybe 4 out of 10, you got a pretty good core. Now you're still at only 40%, but if we can start with that, then we can get if you can get to 50 on your bad side, you should be able to get to at least 60 on your good side. So now you're at 55 and you're probably in the top 10 in the league, right? And obviously we're chatting about special teams, penalty kill, power play, And it's a process. We put an emphasis, and I know the coaching staff has, with the wingers helping out and the D helping out. We kind of struggled with that a little bit earlier. We're doing a better job. So really, you blame the centerman sometimes, but there's been a lot of 50-50 pucks that we've lost, or even 60-40 on our side that we've lost. So we're starting to do better at that, and that will help the overall kind of.
Got it. And when you say you have these moves, and you're teaching these moves, how do you sort of teach a player to read the opponent and then which move to deploy?
That's a good question. And, last time I was in Washington, the head coach, Carberry, who's a really smart guy, and, San Jose's got a really good coach here too. Like, both teams are really lucky, and I'm really happy to learn from two of the best. And, Carberry's like, give me 3 things per guy that I can remind them of. So when you leave, right? So that night, that was the practice, and the next day we played, and I'm trying to write things down. And the next practice day, I went to his office. I said, there's so many variables. Like, if the guy is stronger than me, if the guy's right-handed, if that guy is out wider, if he's closer to the dot, so this is why it's such like a science that eventually we'll get to, but you're looking at kind of where his stick is, where his hand is on his stick. And, I talked to Jumbo about this because, with analytics and everything, the way the NHL is going, I think we've lost a little bit of the face-off. I said, Jumbo, did you know every guy of what his move was, what he was trying to do? And he goes, 100%. Every guy in my conference, and pretty much every guy in the league. And I was the same way. I would remember from, a month ago what that guy's trying to do. So back in the day when we were doing this, you really had a disguise of what you were doing with your hands and move them at the last second, or the guy would know what you were doing. Maybe it's all these skill development coaches and personal coaches and stuff like that, but we don't have the same mindset. And we're trying to kind of get that back into it. But again, it's a little bit of a process with that. When and the rules are, just for the fans, it used to be the home team put their stick down second, which is an advantage most of the time. And I say most of the time because it's a disadvantage when you go in power on power. Now the rule is they wanted more scoring, so the offensive guy puts the stick down second. So obviously putting your stick down second, kind of look at where that player's stick is. Now, at the start of the year, if I ask Washington or San Jose centermen if they're looking and making adjustments off their stick, I don't know if anyone would have said yeah. But when we played, it was like you would look and you would try to figure out what he's trying to do, right? So the games got so fast and so amazing. But when it comes to faceoffs, we're kind of turning back the clock and trying to get back to strategies and figuring out what they're trying to do. But we're not even at that point yet, to be honest with you. Is they haven't even got all the moves yet. And it works this way because, when I started doing this in the Ontario Hockey League, if you give them too much early, then things don't go well, right? Because then now they're trying 4 different moves and they're doing all 4 moves not great. So what I try to do now is just do 1 move at a time, and then we add another one in, and then we talk about when you should do these moves, right?
That makes complete sense. So
Dan's got to go in just a little bit right now. So
okay.
You got to ambush Dan now with your question.
Yeah, okay. So
I'm ready.
Ready. I was gonna talk about Team Canada and your unbelievable career.
Thanks,
but
man.
I really want to get to the bottom of the story about when you guys won the Stanley Cup, okay, in Tampa, and you went on a boat with John Graham.
Oh yeah,
and
that's true.
And he brought some guns. He brought some guns on the boat.
Yep.
And I don't think you were feeling too well from the night before.
No, that's true.
I just wanted to maybe hear it from the horse's mouth what actually happened. And
that's a funny story because I didn't know that. I thought you were going. Yeah, thought you were going a different route there, but yeah. So
I want to hear about that route too.
Yeah. As you know, or as you would assume, I would guess, when you win the cup, you party a little bit. Well, let's see. How can I give you the not R-rated or not the too honest version, but give you enough? We went out. We got pretty buckled. We'll start there. Anyone that knows John Graham, I love you, John, but John likes to have a good time.
Only John Graham, yeah.
John likes to have a good time, and spent the night at John's house. And John had a boat. Couldn't drive the boat, but had a I guess what do you call? Not I was going to say chauffeur, captain. Yeah, I was going to say chauffeur.
Okay.
And so imagine, assuming everyone has had a hangover, imagine one of the worst hangovers of your life, and then imagine at maybe crack of dawn, 6:30, going on a boat and wanting to barf your brains out. Now imagine being at sea on the worst hangover of your life, and I'm just like, I'm sweating, I'm like throwing up. They're like, the best thing for you is to jump in the water, and I'm like, I don't know about that. There's freaking sharks and shit. So I remember doing that. I'm like, I'm puking, I'm dying. I go down and lay down, and all of a sudden I start hearing like pop, pop, pop or whatever. I guess they started shooting clay, I guess. They were firing clay off, and they were shooting guns, and I had never shot a gun in my life at that point. And so I guess it was one of those you had to be there. But I went from like puking, dying, wanting to fucking like die, to going, let me see that fucking gun. And I took the gun, I shot the gun, shot the gun, shot the gun, shot the gun, put the gun down, went fucking back down. I was done. I was fucking roasted. And then to add to the story, it was, I think the next day, and this is, my brain's getting a little foggy. The next day, me, Grammer, Vinny LeCavalier, and Nolan Pratt went and did the Jay Leno show. So we flew. Wow. So it was 24 hours. I didn't feel good the next day either, but we flew out to LA, land, do the Jay Leno show. Had a little, there's other stuff that happened there, but had a pretty nice, it was like one night in LA, like a flight from Tampa to LA. So it was a 48 hours that was pretty interesting and remarkable, and there's a few other stories in there, but I'll give you that's the gist of it. Yeah,
I'm so glad you said Leno the next day, because for a second you're gonna be like, next day in the newspaper, 3 found dead on a boat in the Atlantic.
No. Yeah, no, I remember like being like, I wanted to die, and it was like loud, and I remember going, give me that gun. Let me see that gun. Because I had never shot a gun in my life. And I shot, I don't know how many bullets or whatever it had. And then I went right back down.
Zenon, why do you know this story, Zenon?
That's a weird thing.
Yeah. No, I was kind of trying to think of connections, right? So Mikey, the masseuse, that was, right? Yep. I don't know if he was with you guys or
he was. He was.
And the funny part he said was, he came over, I think, in the morning, and then the captain came, and John Graham, he's on a couple hours sleep, if that.
Yeah.
And he's pulling all these guns, and the captain's like, you are not bringing guns onto the boat. He's like, yes, I am, right? And and Mikey was just laughing because, like, Graham's like, he's telling the captain, like, he's bringing the guns. I'm telling you, like, or he's gonna drive drunk, like. So then the captain's like, fine, like you're not gonna shoot them. He goes, no, we're just bringing them just to for protection or something like that. And then they pull out these clays and. Oh man.
Yeah, that was. I've shot BB guns. That's probably the only. I'm trying to think if I've ever shot another gun after that. I don't think so. I think that's the only gun I've ever shot.
And then the other thing Mikey said was, at one point you were looking into trying to get a helicopter to come pick you up.
It's possible. That's possible. I was like I said, being hungover as hell is horrible, and then I don't know if anyone's ever been seasick. Like actually really seasick, but it's miserable. Like you can't even stare into the horizon or jump in the water. Well, and it was
jumping
just
in the water helps though.
Well, that's what I heard, but you know what I mean.
It helps every time.
That's what I hear.
When you're hungover, you jump in.
But then there's, again, in my mind, there's sharks circling. I didn't see any.
That's why you have the guns, though, Dan.
I didn't see any sharks. Oh yeah, true. I you know what? Yeah, I mean, Grammer had I wouldn't know. Grammer would have put a bullet through my eyes trying to kill a shark, probably. Knowing him.
100%.
I got him, boy. Bing.
He'll be fine. He'll be fine.
Shake it up, yeah. Shake it off, Boiler.
Right.
Anyway, so I'm gonna see you guys at some point.
I'll see you like in an
See you in a
hour or
little
something.
bit, yeah.
I apologize. I had my we had a Christmas party yesterday. It was a I'm a member at Cordoval. Shout out to Cordoval, greatest golf course in the world. We had an ugly Christmas sweater golf tournament. I went back and did TV. I left, did TV like a professional, radio like a pro, and then got my
You ran out though by the time I
and
came
then
up,
got
you
my
were
then I got my driver drove me there. My driver drove me back because there was the second half was a poker tournament. So I got there for the end of the poker tournament, and then we were rolling dice and playing cards, and it's once a year, but they do it up pretty good, and it was a late long night, but anyways, nice to see you, Zenon, after all we're Tampa Bay alums together, and yeah, thank you guys. I don't know what you guys are going to talk about next, but
Faceoffs.
pretty face off. Oh yeah, okay. Oh yeah, I have one question before I go. This is another nerd face off question. When it comes to linemen or referees, like, is there a tell? Is there certain guys drop the puck differently for a centerman? Do they know? Or is that?
Let you all know, like I always say, like you have to be the nicest guy in the world to the linesman. Like try to go pick up the puck for them. And I remember my first year when I played in Anaheim, we were playing Detroit. Randy Carlisle was the coach, and he liked to match lines at home. And their fourth line was Steve Yzerman, I think Draper and Maltby, right? And like Steve Yzerman, I grew up like watching and, this legend. And so sure enough, my first shift is a face-off in our end. This line comes out there. So I go out there. And Yzerman's stick is nowhere near where it should be. His feet are over the line. And I look at the linesman, and I'm like, hey, I know he's a future Hall of Famer and a legend, but he's got to put his feet in the right spot. And the ref looked at me, or linesman looked at me and goes, get out of here. He kicked me out of the draw. I couldn't even take the draw. I didn't even put my stick down or anything. So I knew at that point that some linesmen can, there you go. Be nice to them, and having a little bit of clout with them is important for sure.
That's the tell. That's true.
I like how Z has over 300 PIMs and holds that record, saying "Be nice to the refs."
Yeah.
Well, he wasn't punching a ref, so.
All right, guys, I'm gonna get off. I'll see you guys. I'll see you guys later.
All right.
All right. Thank you, guys. Sorry. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, sweet. Oh, I love it, dude. I mean, okay, so I had one more follow-up question on face-offs. Now, I want to hear there's some other funny stories to probably touch on, but so like the strategy obviously is different in different zones, right? So like in each zone, like, can you just talk me through just theoretically sort of like high level?
Yeah.
Like,
okay. So one, the neutral zone, normally, because there's no lines there and stuff like that for where your feet are, you can kind of like anticipate, because cheat is a bad word. You can anticipate a little bit more, right? Again, where we want to get to, I guess when I played is, I would try some moves in the neutral zone. You always have a couple that you kind of feel like are your most loyal moves that work the best. But every guy is different what works on, and we kind of we talked about that this morning a little bit with a couple of the guys is, you have to understand that not every move is going to beat every guy, because guys take face-offs differently. In the offensive zone, now that you can put down your stick second, right? It's a huge advantage to see where their stick is and try to take, anticipate what they're trying to do. In the defensive zone, and I guess in defensive zone, you don't really want to lose it clean, right? So the defensive zone, especially for me as, a fourth line player, third line once in a while, if you lose the draw clean and the puck goes in the net, you're going to be sitting on the bench, right? For Mac, it's a little different, because, at the end of the day, he's not going to be sitting on the bench at all, and we don't want him to. So it is, you kind of try things in the neutral zone and try to get things into their head. And then when I played, and, sometimes you would save a move that worked for later in the game or a power play. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the power play is kind of interesting too, because, it depends on the other team's alignment. Like if you're killing a penalty, and say the Sharks are killing a penalty, and say Dallas is on the power play like yesterday, you kind of figure out what they're trying to do, and they do have an extra player out there, right? So, I mean, I know Tampa and Adam Oates, started having a scooper that would come and scoop. So really, that centerman is doing the same. They don't want to lose it clean. They want to either tie or win it back, right? Knowing if they tie, that extra guy should be able to scoop the puck, right? So, it's actually I shouldn't even say like the common fan. For the educated fan, they probably don't understand how much goes into faceoffs.
Yeah, absolutely.
And at the end of, there was, a couple plays with Washington where, early on we lost the draw late in the game, and it went, D to D, one-timer. Tom Wilson blocks the shot. Now, thank God it didn't, break his foot or something like that. There's other things, and momentum's a big part of it too. Like if on a power play or penalty kill, especially on the power play, if you win the draw, you get set up, maybe you don't even score, but now you're feeling better about your game. You lose the puck, you lose the draw, the puck goes down, you don't really ever get it set up, or there's a few things that you can't kind of calculate probably with analytics. Like I said before, with face-off percentages can be misleading sometimes because certain guys are put in really tough situations.
Sure. And you talking about Ty Dellandrea, like you mentioned, just how has he become? He is the Sharks' leading face-off man. So how has he kind of improved in training camp and now?
Yeah, like I didn't know this. Like I didn't know this in camp, but he played the wing last year. He didn't play center.
He played a little bit of center, but definitely a lot of wing. Over his career.
And it was one of those things where he was very eager to learn. And again, I can explain this to 10 different players, centermen or wingers, any forwards, actually. I can explain this to 10 hockey players, minus the goalies, okay? And I can explain 4 different moves. And 2 guys are going to be pretty good at this one. 2 are going to be good at this one, maybe 3 on this one. Again, not to go into particulars because I know there's a lot of people watch this podcast and I want the other teams knowing this. But, the one that he gravitated to is a really good, it's probably the best one to know, like, first. If I had to learn one, if I could only have one move, it would probably be, and he has more than one move, like,
right.
We're talking, he's got a couple. But we're trying to add at least one more before the end of the year. And, it's exciting, playoff time, you're facing the same centerman all series, right?
Yeah.
So, I think, I guess even my lesson plan has kind of changed a little bit because at this point, hopefully we're going to make the playoffs, and we got to get different moves and different looks set up by that time. But yeah, it's been, the organization is a really awesome organization, like people wise, and that includes the players. And I've been on a lot of teams, 7 in the NHL, a bunch in the minors. I'll tell you, when you have good human beings and guys that get along, it goes a long way. And this group does that. You got a good mix of like older guys, and you have a great coaching staff. I'm excited for them because they deserve to make the playoffs, and boy, that would be a great learning, teaching point, just getting to the playoffs and understanding that, and maybe win a round or 2, and who knows, like I never put limitations on things. I was undrafted, and people never thought I'd get out of the East Coast Hockey League, so I don't put limitations on what people can do, and it's exciting. The other thing I'll tell you, thinking about San Jose, people ask me, what is the loudest building in the NHL? And I said, it might be San Jose, like back in the day. Like, I remember when I was in Anaheim, and this is a bunch of years ago, but San Jose scored, probably Joe Thornton or Chichu or one of those guys.
Yeah.
And then they scored like 18 seconds later. And I remember sitting on the bench, and I couldn't talk to the guy next to me. Like, he's like, what, right? And I'm yelling. And I always tell people in Canada, the most underrated fans in the NHL are San Jose Sharks. They're loud and they're building. And, I'm being honest. I swear to my kids, I've said this before I worked for San Jose were consulted. So it's exciting. I think for the fans now to see a bright future, and it's going to be pretty exciting.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing you bring up, especially about the setting up for a playoff matchup. Like, obviously you consult with Washington too, and so maybe as you get closer to the playoffs, you start to look a little harder at their possible opponents, right? If the season ended today, the Sharks would play Colorado, so you might be looking at Brock Nelson and Nathan McKinnon's tendencies. So I just find that really, really interesting. And the other part too, that the way you describe it, I don't know if you're a baseball fan, Zenon, but the way you describe different moves are just like different pitches that pitchers have, right? And it's like they're kind of like throwing their best pitch at each other, kind of. And I find that fascinating, that sort of the art of a face-off that a lot of, like you mentioned, even a lot of educated fans don't know.
Like, if I've used that before with comparing baseball pitches.
Yeah.
And this is like high level. Like, I mean, but if you look at like Glenn Denning is a great face-off guy in New Jersey, and say John Tavares or Giroux in Ottawa. Okay, it's like those guys are going to be able to tell, because I face these guys, by where you put your hand on your stick, right? Oh, and again, if you're taking the other guy's stick or trying to, you probably want to go higher up on your stick. If you were trying to put, more weight on your stick, or you go lower. So when I face guys like that, I'd have to move my hand at the last second. So it's like a change up. You want your fastball to look exactly like your change up, like coming out of your hand, right? And I mean, this is, we got a long ways to get to that point, but yeah, it's, for me, it's interesting. And like I didn't play men's hockey when I retired, and now I play on 3 teams, actually. Shout out to the Penguins, the Extra, and the Red Wings. And part of the reason is to stay in shape and get some exercise. But the other reason is just to keep evolving face-off moves and seeing what works.
Interesting. Yeah.
And even now, like, I'll watch a lot of hockey and I'll try different things I see, and there's nothing like doing it yourself, like to understand it and see how maybe we can, find other ways. It evolves like everything else, right? Now, like the cores are the same, but it's something where I love it, like I loved when I did it in the NHL, and I like, kind of consulting and teaching, and it's been pretty cool.
And maybe my last Sharks face-off question. You talk about Michael Misa, and he's a guy that you think has a good foundation to be a excellent face-off man in the future? I do.
Okay. Coming in, you do a little bit of research and you kind of check on some stuff. And with Misa, there wasn't a ton, and it's kind of tough to look at OHL face-offs comparable to NHL because it's a totally different world. They're men. But I was pleasantly surprised on his, I would say, hand strength, stick strength, right? So I think, him and Macklin, both for an 18 and 19-year-old guy, are really strong on their stick. So that makes it a lot easier. It makes it a lot easier on me. And I think they're both going to be good face-off guys in the future.
To that point too, we had Randy on the pod earlier this week, and he
Randy Hahn,
and he was calling the San Jose Sharks broadcaster, and he was saying, he's calling it, Sharks are making playoffs. And to that point, you had once said that the will to win will always outweigh talent. And I just wanted you to speak to that a little bit, because in today's NHL, it seems like from peewees all the way up, it's just skills focused. And I remember when I was young, and this is after Daryl Sutter left the Sharks and he went to the Kings, and he was like, competitiveness and work ethic is a skill, actually, like, skating or shooting. And so I just wanted to know what you think about just talent in the Sharks, even more specifically about their will to win and desire to win.
Well, one, I'll tell you a quick little, about the game. And again, there's a lot of individual coaches, and there's a lot of money that the parents spend, and they're worrying about their kid, and it's about you. And I did some coaching in junior B back in Canada, And I was a head coach there, and they had a skate, like a summer skate, but all the guys are there, and they know the coaches are there, and they're having a scrimmage. And I said, I want to go down the bench and just see what they're talking about on the bench. Like I'm kind of curious to see, it's a decent game, like I will go on the bench and I asked the one guy, so what's the score? So I don't know. No one on the bench knew the score. And it wasn't like it was like 14-12. It was like 5-3.
Yeah,
so I went to the other bench and I said, what's the score? Nobody knew the score. And I said, when I used to play mini sticks when I was 5 years old, I knew the score, and it was 32-31,
exactly, 100%.
So then I said, next week we're playing for something, and then I remember driving with my buddy Roy Montgomery, assistant coach. He goes, well, what'd you get him for winning? I said, what? He goes, remember? Well, I'm like, oh. So we got a couple dozen donuts. I'm like, it's not about the donuts. You shouldn't eat donuts, but you want to eat these donuts because you want to win, and you just don't want to lose. But for sure, like you said, I won World Cup in 99. I won an OHL in 2001. And that's why I wear this ring, because there's only two of us that I think played in the NHL. And I was undrafted, I think Brendan Bell. And we had a very competitive, hardworking, will-to-win team. And we loved each other. And in the East Coast Hockey League, we upset 4 teams when we won the Kelly Cup. But when I won this championship in Ottawa in junior hockey, I knew it's not about talent. Of course, you have to have talent, but the will to win will always outweigh talent, right? Now, obviously, there's got to be talent there, and every NHL team has talent. But it's, when I got to pro hockey, I remember guys telling me, 50%'s mental and 80%'s mental, 90%'s mental. I used to think these people are mental. I'm like, what do you mean? You play physically. Like, what do you mean mental? By the end of my career, it's like 99% mental. It's like, you see scorers, you watch a guy when he's hot scoring goals, and everything that comes off his stick, he's firing the right way, and there's no hesitation, right? And, the mental part of the game is huge, and that's, connected to will to win. That there's no way we're going to lose. We'll find a way. We'll find a way, and that's what we did in junior, and, we did that in Syracuse. Actually, we were at the bottom of the league and made a 23-game undefeated streak, which was the record at the time. John Cooper in Norfolk beat that record a few years later. But I'm a big believer in will to win.
You were saying you're still playing beer league, and I got to ask, you can never turn it off. No. So have you been in a beer league tilt before?
No.
Who would fight him?
No one's throwing down with you. Is that why?
No, but a lot of people are like, oh, people must try to fight you. I'm like, not really.
I don't think not beer league.
But it was, we've had some altercations where I had to get involved, put it that way.
The sheriff.
And you can't turn it off. It's being super competitive isn't very good for everyday life. I remember, when we were 16, 17, fighting at softball games, fighting at the bowling alley, over, and it worked out for me, but it's a catch-22, because when you're super competitive and you're I used to take losses so hard, in junior and in the minors, forget it. That night's ruined the next day till we get back on the ice, and I kind of took winning for granted a bit, because, in minor hockey, we won a couple big championships. In junior, we won the national championship. 2 years later, with nobody, we go back to the national championship. I go to the minors and win a Kelly Cup. And then, we lose in the semifinals. We're down 3-1 in the AHL to the Hershey Bears. And we win the next 2 games to force game 7. The circus is in Hershey, and there's 6 or 7 days off between game 6 and 7. And Anaheim's playing Edmonton. Edmonton beats them in the playoffs at that time. And we get Getzlaf, Perry, and Penner down for game 7. And we lose in double overtime. And, if we win that game, we probably win the Calder Cup. And the next year, Anaheim wins the Cup. And I end up going to Russia for a couple months and kind of got buried because doing it. And then after that, I played in the playoffs and, and made a couple runs in the minors and played in the NHL in the playoffs, but could never get back to that. And it ate at me. Now it's, you get older and you realize how hard it is to win. We were pretty, happy and blessed to have championships and have that bond with those guys. But I always tell like players too, like, you'll be bonded for life if you win a championship with the guys in the room. And I've never done it at the NHL level, but I could just imagine, so, that is, that's one goal, to be some small part of a Stanley Cup team, would be, a dream.
Well, you just gave an example of that. Dan Boyle hungover shooting clay. That's the bonding that comes from a championship, right?
Then you go to Jay Leno, right?
Yeah, exactly. All within 48 hours. But Zenon, I want to thank you so much for your time. We just got a couple more questions for you, just kind of random questions. Zubair had a really good question that I wanted to get or to ask you. In terms of the art of winning in faceoff, do you ever chirp somebody into like say something at the right time, just throw off their timing? So you ever win a faceoff on a chirp? Like that's got to be one of your moves, right?
No. Like I mean,
does anyone talk though, kind of during the faceoff? So like maybe trying to throw rhythm off, like a guy that's
like
that.
We've put money on face-offs a couple of times, like with buddies of mine, and actually, I will say Scott Gomez. I'm trying to remember what year it was, but Scott Gomez, like we were losing. I think I was playing. I forgot where I was playing, but we were losing the game. It was like 7-2.
Yeah,
and it was like a minute left. I was on the ice, and Gomez, and maybe he didn't want to get into any and do me a favor for maybe next time we played. But he goes, he looked at me and he goes, He goes, win the face-off. It's more important to you than me. And he just let me win it. And I was like, thanks, man. Thank you.
That's pretty good, yeah. Actually, that leads me to my very last question. And I don't know if Scott was on the Sharks at the time, but since you're on here and you had a great career, interesting career, any kind of random Shark stories kind of just to finish off here, so from your playing career?
I mean, I'm trying to remember who I fought. It was like a guy smaller than me, actually. He was a centerman for the Sharks when he played in Anaheim. He asked me to fight, and it didn't go that well for him.
Yeah.
And, but that was the same game where they scored back. Like, I'm pretty sure it's the same game where they scored 2 goals in like 20 seconds, and I couldn't hear the guy next to me, and he couldn't hear me. So I always had a lot of respect for San Jose, like the whole organization and the fans. And I've seen it at its peak. Like I played against, obviously Jumbo and Marlowe and Douglas Murray and, and I'm excited for that to be back, because I don't think we're that far away from that building being packed and that loud again. And it's good for San Jose, but it's great for hockey and great for the NHL as well.
I think the guy you fought was
Nicholas?
Mark Smith.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Looking that up. Yeah, Mark does TV for the Sharks now.
Too many headshots. Too many headshots. See? I wouldn't have went with Smith, but look at that. Yeah, so I fought Rob Brown. Was it Rob?
Curtis Brown. Mike Brown.
Mike Brown. I fought him.
Mike Brown's a fighter
too.
Yeah.
Fought him a few times. Yeah. Stuff like that. I'm trying to think of other guys. I actually know the guy. So Fraser McLaren.
Oh sure. Yeah.
We went to. There was a trip to Australia where they do the kind of the Canada versus US. Actually, Brett Burns went on the trip as well, and they get a few NHL guys, and then they have like AHL guys, and Fraser McLaren was on the trip as well. And I brought my cousin who played in college, and he played in the multiple games. So we were having a couple drinks after the game, and my cousin goes, "Hey, did you ever fight Fraser McLaren?" I'm like, "No, we never fought." Right? And he looks at me and goes, "We fought twice in the minors." He's like, I fought you, and then you made me fight you again. I'm like, and good news for me was like, he wasn't, I don't think, as tough as he was at the end of his career in the minors, but it was kind of funny that I had no recollection of fighting him. So.
One guy you didn't fight too that maybe surprised me because your times did match up was Ryan Reeves. So I guess as a closing question, what made Revo so tough, or makes him so tough?
Well, I mean, it's the era now. He was young. I remember, he was in St. Louis, I think.
Yeah, St. Louis,
And I don't think he fought anyone on Minnesota. He didn't fight that that much. He fought enough. I mean, don't get me wrong, but he didn't fight a ton early in his career. And so I just caught a couple years of him probably. But I mean, I'm a firm believer too, and I think you can intimidate the other team, like and give your give your guys more space, and I like I worked for Adam Oates for a year and a half when I was done playing, and he has development and he develops all the best players in the world. But we were having a couple drinks after a session and stuff like that, and he's talking about fighting. I'm like, you fought Adam Oates? He goes, the first few years, I was there's a line brawl, everyone's fighting, right? So the difference is now there's guys that never fought in their life, right? So if you had a team that guys that can play and guys can hit and guys can drop the gloves, I think it's even more effective. And I mean, and who's on the ice, who's in the building, who's in the building. I always said too, like for GMs that even in Edmonton, if you find a really, really tough guy, put him as a healthy scratch, because the tough guys will know that if something happens this game, next game you're playing, he's going to be in the lineup, and that would be a deterrent. So, I mean, I'll tell you one more story, actually. Yeah. So when I was playing Long Island, we went to Toronto, and we weren't a great team, Long Island, and Toronto was pretty decent. And but earlier in the year, we played in New York, and late in the game, John Tavares came over the blue line, and Dion Phaneuf just blindsided him. And back then, it wasn't even a penalty. Now, it probably should have been a penalty, but the refs didn't call it. And it was right at the end of the game. So we go into Toronto, and in warm up, there's Dion without his helmet on, and apparently he's a pretty good guy, but at the time, I didn't think he was a very good guy at all. So I said, you're fucking dead tonight. I'm going to kill you tonight, blah, blah, because I'm not fighting you. I said, I don't care if you don't fight me. I'll find you after the game, wherever, in the hallways. I'm going to fucking kill you, So game starts. I go after him a couple times. He won't drop the gloves. And kind of like they didn't really have any, like their tough guys weren't in the lineup or something. Like So I'm chasing him, whatever. And we end up winning the game. And usually NHL teams fly to the next city, but we stayed in Toronto that night, and then we were flying to Florida the next day because we had 2 days before the next game. And so we went out and we celebrated like Boiler won the Stanley Cup. We won a game in Toronto, and I'm getting on the bus, and Gar Snow was the GM, and he goes, "What'd you do last night?" I'm like, I don't know. We went out. We won a game. Like, he goes, no, not after the game. What'd you do in the game? And I said, nothing. Why? He goes, you got a call with the league. I said, for what? He goes, that's why I'm asking you. I said, so I sit down in the bus, and guys are like, okay, call. Like, Colin Campbell was. Yeah. I'm like, nah, I'm not calling the bus. So we get to the airport. Now the flight's delayed. So I'm like, all right, I'll call. So I call Mr. Campbell, and I said, Mr. Campbell, Zenon Konopka. And he goes, oh, Zenon, we don't run a circus here. We don't run a circus in the league. I'm like, yeah, I know, Mr. Campbell. Why would you say that? He goes, well, apparently you were uttering death threats in warm-up. I'm like, come on. I'm like, I wasn't going to kill him. So his kid is playing in Boston. He goes, who is a really good tough guy, like that Sean Thornton. He does his business, classy, blah, blah. So now I'm getting annoyed. And the guys are listening to this on top of it, right? So I'm like, no, Mr. Campbell, I know who Sean Thornton. I played with Sean Thornton. I have respect for Sean Thornton, but I think I do my job. Well, we can't have a circus and uttering death threats, and I'm going to fine you $2,500 because that's the most I can fine you, right? So, and I'm not very happy with this. Guys are listening to this, right? So I'm like, okay, Mr. Campbell, you know what? I'll take the fine and I'll pay it. I don't agree with it, okay, but I'll do it. But I want to ask, can you answer one question for me? He goes, what is it? I said, how many hits did Dion Phaneuf have last night? He goes, I don't know. I said, I do. 0. He had 0 hits. So it might have cost me $2,500, but my players didn't get hit at all. So you can talk about Thornton all you want. My guys didn't get touched last night. See you later. Close phones.
Damn.
And the team fund paid the fine, so that was nice.
Fuck your rights.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a great closer. I love it. Z, dude, such a pleasure, man. This is a lot of fun. Can't wait to have you back on again. And I'll Let's go grab a meal.
All right. All right, guys. All right. We'll see you in a bit. Thanks.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. Go Sharks.
Let's go. Go Sharks.